Friendship. Friendship again?
Greetings, gamers, and welcome to the 233rd live stream from the Misfit Gamer Studios. I'm your host, Vortex, and this is D&D Discussions. On today's episode, we have something a little bit different. We are going to be doing a showcase today from Carts. So today, Cart has given us a very unique submission. We're not going to be able to get to everything, but we are going to get to a good chunk to at least give us an idea, and then we'll be able to give it to give the showcase score, which is more of a how interested we are, how much we'd be likely to play it, or suggest it to be played. So it's going to be a 1 out of 5 stars instead of a 1 out of 10 rating because that's the compatibility score. So find out what we have, because today we have a module from Cart all about the Tarrasqueborn, which is a homebrew idea about the Tarrasque. So let's find out what that actually is. Let me get Kage in the mix here.
Bada bing, bada boom.
We're back. Got it. All right, so Carts, just to kind of give you an idea, because I don't think either of us really understood like the full extent of what was happening. Oh wait, chat's all fucked up. Hold up.
I'm for hot sauce. Oh, we're not doing hot sauce again. We lived that hot sauce life last time, okay? And as you can all see, Vortex lived the painted fingernails life, which was phenomenal because Bixie hooked it up.
That's still visible? Chat still good? Yeah, chat still looks good.
Why do I look? Do I look frozen?
You are frozen, yes.
That's
you froze
wild.
earlier too, before stream.
I'm froze on my thing. Stand by.
All right, y'all. So how today is going to work, for anybody who hasn't been here for a showcase before, we do normally a 1 out of 10 high points for compatibility with the build that we do and high point. But with a showcase, because they aren't really typically things that are designed for universal adoption, it's not like a subclass or an item that you can just easily pick up and take. Showcases are usually something that are setting specific, campaign specific, or like this, where they are their own self-standing thing. And with that, we can kind of have our own showcase leaderboard. It's a 1 out of 5 stars, and again, the 5 stars are really a judge on whether or not we would want to play it, right? So it's, the more interested we are, the more curious we are, the more questions we have about it, the more enticed we are, the higher the score. If it just doesn't seem to be interesting, or we wouldn't find ourselves playing it, it will end up getting a lower score. But again, this is just to kind of showcase it and let everybody else see what it's about. It's going to have a lot less of our commentary for 2 different reasons. One, normally during showcases, we try to hold back some of what we want to say because we're trying to just take it in as it is. We're just trying to be more players than DMs and just think about how we would be if we were reading this at a game store and would we want to buy it, right? So we try to have as little of the back and forth regarding, what would I do with that, or would I change that, or how would I work it? And it's just more of, what is our gut reaction? Does that sound interesting? What class would I choose to go against that thing, or what weapon would I use with whatever we're doing? So that's how normally the showcases work. Is it's just our first reactions as players, as people who were just coming across it and interested in it as in of itself. Jeez, I can fucking talk today. So today we have a really big one. This one is an entire module. So we're gonna be up front. We're not gonna be able to do the whole thing. It's far too much, and it would take a multitude of episodes to dedicate just to representing it. So what we're going to be able to do today, though, is represent and go through, I would say, a pretty decent chunk. We're going to get through a 5th of it. This is pretty hefty from what I understand. And to put that in context of how much we're going to go through, this thing has 30 chapters. It is a 30 chapter module. We're going to get through the first 6, or at least partway through the first 6, to really just try to see, again, if I'm in a game shop and I'm walking through and I'm looking at, new TTRPGs and new modules, if I were to pick this up and just open it and just start reading and flipping through it, how likely am I to get hooked on it? That's kind of what we're going to be doing today. It's going to be a lot of us reading. Again, we're going to try to react. We're going to try to break them down, maybe read a whole chapter, and then maybe give some feedback, some initial ideas. But again, it's not going to be a balancing act. We're not going to try to say how we would have done it. It's just more of we read this. What do we think? What do we want it?
Sure.
So, Cart, just to kind of give you a heads up, again, 30 chapters is way more than we can do in a single setting, in a single sitting. And overall, there's not a lot of benefit. I mean, if we were to go through every 30 chapter, it's kind of like playing one of those games that has a specific narrative. It's like, if people are interested, I would highly suggest they go out and read it themselves. But our response to it's only going to be so much, for all of it. So
yes, and I will say I also have to apologize because I would have front loaded this a while ago. I know I looked at it when you first sent it, and I know it's been a little while, and so I apologize. I did not remember how long it was, or else I would have indicated that when we were initially talking about it. But I will say, eventually, what'll end up happening is, because every single one of these things ends up going up on the leaderboard, and so when people do want to come check this out, I will eventually have everything updated and put on there. So anybody who does want to go look at the full breadth of what Cart created, it'll be there for you. You'll be able to go check it out. You'll be able to see it and see if it's something that you really want to sink your teeth into. But like Vortex was saying, we'll start off with what we have here to give you guys a good idea of the framework of whether it's something that you want to go take a look at for yourselves.
And I'll even say this too, Cart. While we're going to give you the showcase and the initial score of the module as it is, like this showcase is the entire module, and we're just going to kind of just, again, see a snapshot. It's like watching a gameplay of a demo, right? That's all you have, is I'm going to treat this like a demo. However, even though we won't ever get to the full breadth of it just because of the extent, there's nothing that says that taking the feedback that we give you today, if there's something later that you were really hoping to hear feedback on, or if after this you do a 2.0 version of it, there's nothing that says you can't give us a single chapter in the future or a single piece, right? So I did see that there were different types of Tarrasques in here. So in the future, if you make a change to the Tarrasque type and you just want us to review that, we can absolutely do those as individual showcases or even as a review if you think that they are universally acceptable to other things, right? Like if the types of Tarrasque you make in here could just be picked up anywhere, we can easily do a review of those. Or again, if there's a specific chapter in all of the 30 that you were just like, oh, I really wished you would have gotten to chapter 11, or I really wanted to know what you thought about chapter 21, we can do those individual snapshots. So today is going to be the Tarrasqueborn module gets one review, but if there's any specific chapter piece of it that you want to submit in the future as an individual item, let us know and we can tackle it like that. Again, I just don't think that there's going to be a way that we can tackle all of it as its whole package. So hopefully that way, if you have anything again in the future, just throw that on as a submission and just let us know that it's part of this, because we can always just keep all of that linked in together.
One other question. Do you think that if that were to happen, if Cart were ever to submit to us something that, like a specific chapter or something like that, and once we see it and or receive it, we're like, oh my gosh, that would have changed my whole perspective on this thing, and I might have given it a different score? Or would this be something where it's just, hey, this is just additional information. Oh, I really like how this sounds, or I do or I don't, or whatever. And it might be a little bit different just because it's a showcase, but
yeah, I think that'll be a play it by ear kind of situation. I don't foresee like those one small pieces changing drastically, but that's not to say that it couldn't. Your screen did freeze again. But yeah, so if it comes down to later that we have a much higher opinion of the showcase, then yeah, I wouldn't mind changing the score later down the road, right? If we read these first 6 chapters and we're like, that's a 2. Like, I mean, I'm interested, but I need to know more. And then later down the road, we get 2 more chapters that Cart really wanted us to go over. And then we're like, oh, I now want to play this. I'll move it up to a 4. Like, I'm totally fine with that. But if it just turns out that this is a solid 3 or 4, like, yeah, I'm interested. And every time we get a new piece and I'm like, I'm still just as interested, then there would be no reason to change it. So I'm open to the idea, but I'm not necessarily thinking that it's required to, like, you know, shut it down, right? We don't need to say no, it can't be updated, but, you know, play it by ear and see if it needs to be.
Got you.
Also,
I apologize, my friends. It appears that my camera is overheating on the regular right now, so I'm gonna let it rest for about 5 minutes. Try it again, and we'll see if we can get it to function normally.
All right. Well, we'll give you some time. No worries. But Cart, we did have one question for you before we begin. Is in terms of, because of the length, again, kind of caught us a little bit off guard. So the one thing I really wanted to approach this with is, I've looked at modules before. 30 chapters seems a little hefty for a module. So I just want to wrap my head a little bit on, from your point of view, is this meant to be a D&D module, as in it is just a place and time within the D&D setting that one could run a campaign off of? Is this more of a custom type of TTRPG that uses D&D rules, or is this more like a novel? And I don't mean that in a bad way, but is it more like a novella where it has all the rules and all the ideas, but it's also just a large lore dump that explains an entire setting? So just trying to wrap my head around, what are we reading here? Is it just a series of rules and mechanics? Is it a bunch of lore mixed in with all of that? Or is this meant to be a sit down and the DM can run an entire campaign and only use this book kind of thing? Yeah, I think that'll also really help us how we're going to respond to it, right? Depending upon like the expectation of how much more effort we'd have to put in. Again, if I'm at a game shop and I pick this up, how much effort do I have to put into this to really get the most out of it? Do I need to be willing to accept a bunch of lore, or do I just need to be willing to want to run some new mechanics with some new subclasses and some new races? Once we get that, we can begin, because then we'll be in the right mindset. And as I said before, it's quite a lot. I don't even know how many. We're at 15 pages, so it's going to be a lot of reading. We'll try to probably knock out. We have 6 chapters. So yeah, maybe I'll just read through an entire chapter as best I can, and then we'll try to, unless there's like something we have to stop on to make a comment about, we can try to get through a chapter before we make commentary.
I'm looking over the original work right now. I'm trying to figure out exactly how many there were, and if I can get an idea. See, I wish I had enough time to create a table of contents for this, just so we could at least take a look at like what each chapter was called, give ourselves an idea of what we could get out of each of them, because I feel like that might give us a similar perspective on what we're looking at here. You know, being able to say, okay, we got a group over here talking about, you know, the lore. We got a group over here talking about, you know, the races. A group over here talking about, you know, the culture, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. So it looks like this original draft, this first edition that we have, was a mixture for it's a mix of story and setting of basically new D&D mechanics. So it is very similar to old school modules, where it's going to present us with an entire setting, new things to use, but all within the 5th edition D&D landscape.
Got you.
All right. Well, with that, yeah, we will begin here. I'll give Kage just another minute to see if the camera will come back up, and if not, we'll just continue with it.
Yeah, let's see real quick. Oh yeah, we're looking a lot cooler now.
I also need to get a portable fan.
Yeah, apparently, that's so wild. What I really need to get is a dedicated camera. That's honestly what I need to get.
Yeah, I know a lot of the times too with because I think you're using a phone for that. So I know sometimes when the phone's camera is on and it's being charged, I know that can cause some overheating.
Yeah, but I tried, I think, one time to do it without it being charged, but it just ate through the battery so fast. So I'm definitely down to try it. Let's do this one more again. Let's see. Oh, I think I'm a little bit off. All right.
Oh, I see what you mean right there. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, we got Kage back, so we'll start with chapter 1. I will try to get through as much as we can in a good stint. Feel free to cut me off if you have any comments, Kage, because it's going to be a lot. All right, well, let's buckle in and begin with the showcase of the Tarrasqueborn module by Carts, and we're going to start with chapter 1, Legacy of the Sleeper. You may forget the gods, you may forget your king, but no soul who walks the land has ever truly forgotten the Tarrasque. What this is. Tarrasqueborn, Blood of the Sleeping God, is more than a setting book. It is a world-shaking expansion module meant to serve as a campaign guide, playable racial sourcebook, and narrative sandbox for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition or any mythic fantasy system. It centers on the long-reaching aftermath of the fall of a godlike beast and the bloodline that echoes from its death. Fantastic way to start it. Just phenomenal way to start and kick it off.
Agreed. Gives us a really good chunk of what we're looking at here.
Hang on 1 second. I have something dropped off at my front door. I'll be right back.
Yep, go for it. So yeah, I'll say I definitely love that presentation opening in the first place. It gives the person a really good idea of like what they're gonna find in this, as well as what they might have to expect in like what you actually want to receive out of it, right? Because sometimes, you know, am I going to get information for classes or subclasses? Now, this really isn't going to have that, but it can give you a setting guide, a idea for like campaign hooks and how to use them in your story, racial source books, like playable races, you know. So all of that stuff is really, really good information that I feel like is valuable for people to know walking into this and be like, how am I going to use this in a way that's valuable? And yeah, there's really no questions after that. So I'm here for it. I'm here for it. But yeah, I definitely saw a lot of information about like playable races in here, and so I'm curious because Vortex said that he saw like 2 in here. I'm curious how, if there's more than that, like how many different ideas for playable races. So I was looking through the original that you sent me, and I kind of started at the back because I wanted to see exactly how many chapters there were, but there's a total of like just over 100 pages in this thing, and I'm looking at page 50 right now, and I'm still on creature stat blocks, it looks like. Creature stat blocks. Yeah. Something Verados, the God-Forged Flame. I actually think that's the first one, and that's on page 52. So scrolling back, I might actually get to the overview. Aha! Boom. Chapter. That can't be right. I swear there were over 30 chapters, but this says it's only chapter 11. So we'll see if I was tripping and we're only missing like 4 chapters. But no, it's got to be more than that because there's only 15 pages. I'm on page 40 something. So it's got to be a little bit more than that. Optional feature. Nope. I want to see another chapter heading. Yeah. And that's something that's good to know is like a lot of these things are, oh, really? That's only 9. Maybe I just don't know my Roman numerals.
What's that?
So I could have fully lied to you when it comes to how many chapters this thing has. So I was going through the original document and I got like the original document has over 100 pages. But I started at the bottom and I went and I worked my way back up. And it looks like half of those pages are just stat blocks for monsters.
Oh,
now,
wow.
I don't exactly know what these monsters are. So they might be like setting monsters. But like literally 50 of those pages are just stat blocks starting from the bottom. Like the very, very last like 4 or 5 pages, I think, are appendixes for something or other. But the majority of them are stat blocks. And then when we finally get back into chapters, it looks like, yeah, because this looks like Roman numeral 8. Why does that look like 8? That looks like 8 to me. So it looks like there's only 9 chapters total. So there could be only 3 more in addition to the ones that are here.
Okay.
So it might be a little bit easier for me to get all of them out there. But again, a bunch of stat blocks, a bunch of appendixes, and some other things in there. But okay, it's good to know.
Sweet. Well, I mean, that's even better though, because that means that our showcase will be more than only a fifth of it. It'll be like 2/3, which will be a much better representation of what to expect from it. So yeah, again, we don't have to go through 50 pages of stat blocks, but at least if what we read here is 6 of the 9, chapters, even that last chapter, again, kind of like, you don't want to have to review everything. So it's like, that's still going to be the majority of what we experience. So that's even better. I think that will make the score actually more earnest in that. But going back to where we started with this, I think this is a great way to start it. It's very specific in terms of what it is, but it also is trying to be open for adaptation. So I like that. All right, so within the stone, we get a complete playable race, the Tarrasqueborn, infused with mechanics and lore. We have campaign factions, NPCs, and mythic monsters woven into one narrative web. So very similar to a Greyhawk or Dark Sun type of new module setting. But I also, again, I like that this is designed to either be a standalone or you can just take the concept and adopt it into like a dystopian future of your own setting. Detailed entries on the 5 who slew the Tarrasque and how their legacy shapes the world. The hunger mechanic, representing primal struggle within the Tarrasqueborn. The serum, the shade, and the return of ancient horrors. A post-level 20 system called the Awakening for those who endure long enough. This module is designed for high-level roleplay, moral nuance, brutal mythic combat, and legacy-based progression. Starting to sound like High Point here.
Hey.
All right, so we have tomes and themes. This setting is mythic, tragic, monstrous, and deeply personal. It's about legacy, what you inherit, what you change, and what you must bury to move forward. Control versus instinct, a constant tension between civilization and chaos, restraint and rage. Monsters in the mirror. Are you the last defense against the end, or the next end yourself? Blood as a memory, scars as stories, and power as the burden of history. Sacred versus the feral. Druidic wilds, divine zealotry, arcane manipulation, all vying to control what should have never existed. Expect emotionally complex storytelling, expect monstrous beauties, expect war, sorrow, and roaring pride. It's a very self-selling module, I will say. This is very kind of like what you would expect to read from the older ones to kind of like just get you enticed if you haven't been a role player before.
That's valid.
All right, core concepts. The Tarrasque. Once it walked the world, a creature of scale and silence, not a demon, not a god, a correction. The Tarrasque existed beyond alignment or language. Its role was destruction, rebirth through ruin. When it rose, kingdoms fell like blades of grass. And then 5 mortals stood against it. They won, but the world was never the same. Its death left behind bone fields, unstable ley lines, and something more dangerous than the creature itself. Echoes, blood, memory. Let's see. The Tarrasque. When the five slew the beast, some of them bathed in its blood. Others carved its flesh to feed their armies. One consumed it directly. Over generations, something changed. These born of the corrupted bloodlines, or born near sacred sites of the Tarrasque death, began to manifest traits. Hardened skin, great strengths, burst of uncontrollable rage. But more than that, they felt it. The hunger. The Tarrasqueborn are those who carry this inheritance. Some call them monsters, some call them chosen. They call themselves survivors. This is very well written.
Interesting. Yes, indeed. I'm a fan.
This is like very well written in terms of good lore building and good ways to just keep people like, it's very simple to follow along, but also showing you that there's so much more to be found. And that's, I think, a great way to get people enticed and understand what their level of interest is in the story. So if you're not already even considering this right now, then this is definitely not going to be for you. But if there's any like, hey, what does that mean? Like, that's kind of what you want, is sprinkle it and let them know what's coming, but don't give it all right away. All right, so we have the five heroes, legends, traitors. The five mortals who slew the Tarrasque and shattered their world in the process. Veratus the Justicar, the burning sword of divine law. Cadrus the Veil Forge, the time-warped arcanist. Orthiza the Hollowed, the soul carver and body thief. Asdrak the Claw, betrayed by fate, twisted by jealousy. Razgor Flamebound, the bard who sang the beast to its knees, now the first Tarrasqueborn. So that must have been the one that fed on it directly.
Yep, that makes sense.
They are not allies anymore. Now each rules a faction, legacy, or philosophy, and their right hands walk the world enforcing their will. The hunger, the primal force that lives in the blood of all Tarrasqueborn. It is not a curse nor a disease. It is a memory of claws rending the world, of silence before destruction. It manifests as rage, craving, or even stillness so profound it numbs the soul. If not managed, it consumes the host. If mastered, it fuels legendary power. Every Tarrasqueborn must balance it. Every campaign involving them must reckon with it. Okay. I'm really interested in that mechanic. I'm curious how balanced and how well that will feel in gameplay.
Yeah. Agreed.
The Tarrasque Shade. Born not of nature, but of flesh-forging madness. The Shade is a golem-like amalgamation of the original Tarrasque's remains, animated by arcane instability and the fractured will of Varys Thornwell. Originally called the Tarrasqueborn, it has since been renamed the Tarrasque Shade, a fitting title for a beast that is not reborn, but reforged. The Shade
that's what we reviewed the first time.
I think so. I think that's what was the original submission and now has become part of the lore itself, which I like.
Nice.
The Shade is a major threat, a tragic tool, and possibly a god's echo still unfinished. It'd be nice to see if that would ever have a potential to resurrect the Tarrasque and like reset the world back to what it was beforehand. Like to correct all of the stuff.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would be a great way to end the campaign, is give them a choice. Like become one of the legacies and become more powerful, or resurrect the Tarrasque and send everything back to how it was. That'd be a really interesting way to kill that ending. All right, so we have the Flesh Forge and Varys Thornwell. One of the last surviving members of the Arcane Elite, Varys Thornwell took parts of the Tarrasque and tried to create life, not for domination, but for understanding. What he made, Grog the Shade, the Serum, may now undo the balance entirely. His fortress laboratory is a campaign dungeon unto itself, still full of living flesh golems, traps, and remnants of experiments long since gone feral. Grog the Hungerborn, a mutated warthog, a friend, a bag of holding with teeth. Grog is a tragic, adorable, and highly dangerous companion NPC, capable of storing legendary artifacts within himself, and possibly key to the Serum's fate. He is hunted by Varys, protected by the party, loved by none more than players. I mean, hard to say that that's a guarantee. I will say that that's the first red flag is like, you know, we don't know if the players are really going to love him, but I do like this concept. I like this little like living bag of holding thing.
I definitely understand that, like, that's supposed to be the purpose of them. I am always, I will say, cautious of when the book tells you how you're supposed to feel or supposed to act to or about something.
Yeah.
But I definitely get the idea of like, hey, this is at the very least the general idea of what this thing is supposed to be. And so like when you're presenting it to your players, presenting it to your players with that in mind. Like if they take it whatever way they want to take it, like that's fine, do what you got to do. But I think at the end of the day, that if that is what like the heart and mind behind that entity or creature is, then I think that'll be received a lot more. Now, players can be on the bad side, players can choose to think about these things however they want, but still. So, no, I got respect for that.
All right. Yeah, I think like difficult, but totally fine. Like I think it's still a worthwhile thing to have.
Absolutely.
All right, the serum. Held in an animanium flask, the serum is a culmination of blood, flesh, psionic resonance, and primal divinity. It can empower its user beyond mortal limits, corrupt weak minds entirely, attract things that should not be awake. What happens if Varys gets it is one arc. What happens if the player drinks it is another entirely. Okay. So it's like a plot point where, depending on if someone consumes it or they hold on to it. Okay. The Awakening, a level-based racial evolution that occurs after level 20. When your journey is so long that the hunger itself begins to evolve, so too must you. Awakened forms bring racial traits into mythic balance with the world. This is where monsters become paragons or gods become regrets. All right, how to use this module. You can use Tarrasqueborn, Blood of the Sleeping God, as a new race expansion for players, a setting module for DMs, a monster source book with factions, villains, and lore, a full campaign arc from level 5 to 20 plus, a mythic storytelling tool for legacy-based adventures where every scar matters. That's definitely setting a lot of expectations there. But I like it. I do like the ambition. This is very ambitious for more than just, creating a few things.
Yeah,
doing some lore.
I'll say those things I feel like are we'll say the first 3 points, even the fourth point, a full campaign arc, I think that can be possible and presented here, but the rest is kind of up to the DM that takes it. And because there's plenty of DMs that you can give them a system like first or second edition, where a lot of everything that you do matters, and if they run it in a way where none of that stuff actually matters, or they don't take those things into account, or they don't use it to its full capacity and ability, then it's just going to fall flat. So while you might have created a beautiful arena for people to operate in, what you do in it, I mean, you can theoretically bake cookies in an arena if you wanted to, instead of actually using it for the grandiose stage that it is,
Yeah. So yeah, so far so good. I will say too, as an opener, it's opening great, but it is just a lot of this part is rating much more like a table of contents than it is like letting me know anything, right? Like so far, I'm getting some good lore. I keep getting told of what's coming, but I have yet to actually understand more than, okay, this is a world after Tarrasqueborn. I know how it started, but you know, it's just a lot of introductory stuff so far. But again, we're still in chapter 1. We got 6 chapters.
True.
All right, so campaign style options: horror fantasy, focus on mutation, madness, and divine hunger; political fantasy, factions of the 5 war against each other while the bloodline burns; heroic redemption, Tarrasqueborn PCs rise from the hated beasts to mystical guardians; Dragon Slayer myth, the Tarrasque was not the only one, and something else stirs. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, and then closing of chapter 1. So it only took us like a half hour. The Tarrasque is dead, but its blood lives on in you, in the soil, in the silence beneath your dreams. The question is not whether it will rise again. The question is, will you be ready when it does?
Oh.
So honestly, I mean, I know that I just made that comment, but being that was the end, I guess, yeah, chapter 1 being just a relatively good, like this, for a opening piece, this chapter is actually really great. I wouldn't say perfect, but this is what you need for an opener, right? I wouldn't necessarily call it a chapter, but this is more like those first 2 pages of, you know, like a source book.
Yeah.
Kind of like the dedication. This is all great though.
Whatever.
Like, this is what I would want to read when I'm first opening a module book. Like, this is the kind of first 2 pages I want, is just give me all of this, right? Really let me know and understand what book am I picking up here? And this kind of gives me a very good viewpoint of what we're getting into. So definitely points for that.
Absolutely.
All right. So chapter 2, the first hunt and the 5. So this will be, I'm assuming, the lore centric chapter. This is really going to set the stage for everything that happened, what's going on in the world, and why you are where you're at. So let's find out. All right. When the world gave no answer, 5 voices rose. One roared, one judged, one carved, one questioned, one sang. That's kind of cool. I like that.
You think the judge was a paladin?
Probably. All right. The first hunt. There was only one Tarrasque, and when it rose, the world bled. Entire continents fell into silence. Kingdoms collapsed into terror, into tremor. Magic faltered beneath its weight. It was not a beast. It was the uncaring hunger of the world made flesh. But 5 mortals stood against it, not for glory, not for fame, but because no one else remained. The event became known simply as the first hunt. Not a battle, but a mythic siege upon the beast's existence, carried out by those who had no other choice. It ended with a body that would not rot, and 5 survivors who would never be the same. The 5 heroes, founders, fates. Each of the 5 played a role in the Tarrasque's downfall. Each represent a philosophical pillar that echoes through the campaign. All right. Vortex is the God-forged flame. They are the paladin, Oath of Judgment. This is a custom Oath of Judgment is custom. Current role, High Lord of the God-forged Order. Theme, law, divine authority, unwavering judgment. Known for channeling divine wrath to blind the Tarrasque senses, imposing celestial law on entire city-states post-war, founding a zealous military theocracy in the name of order. The legacy. Vortex believes the Tarrasqueborn are abominations. They seek to eradicate the bloodline, not out of cruelty, but out of a divine belief that its very existence is a threat to cosmic order. Which would make sense why they broke up. This probably would have been the first, like, crux in their allyship.
This is very interesting because it gives this, character, like, what we talk about is, like, up until this point, this adventuring party had a reason to go adventure together. They were on this quest to destroy this thing that they all think and believed was bad, including this guy. But then all of a sudden, when things start to change a little bit, when there starts being Tarrasqueborn out here and people being born of its blood that are just regular dudes, theoretically, he sees it as, oh, you're a spawn of this thing, and its potential to regain a foothold in my world that I spent all this time trying to clear it from. I don't care if you agree with me or not, they're all gonna die. So yeah, I got mad respect for that. I think that's cool. I think that's very cool.
All right, number 2, we got Kadris, the Chrono Warden, a chronomancy wizard, ruler of the Fractured Tower. Theme: time, paradox, balance between knowledge and risk. Known for freezing a full minute in time around the Tarrasque's neck to allow the killing blow. Studying echoes of other timelines where the world did not survive. Creating a loop-bound servants and time-locked spells. Seems like a very yeah, it feels very Doctor Strange-ish. Legacy: Kratos does not hate the Tarrasqueborn. He studies them, believing their existence may determine which timeline becomes dominant. His actions are cold, calculated, and potentially catastrophic.
Interesting. Okay.
Merthiza, the Soul Stitcher, a warlock wizard hybrid, a flesh crafter. Current role: High Alchemist of the Flesh Forge cult. Theme: evolution through manipulation. Body horror, soul alchemy. Known for crafting runes to turn the Tarrasque's muscles against itself. Creating the first successful flesh-bound hybrid construct. Removing their own soul and replacing it with efficiency. They see the Tarrasqueborn as raw materials, templates for something greater. She wants to perfect the bloodline through horrific experiments and believes suffering is just part of the process.
Wild.
Azdrak, King of the Shattered Kin, is a fighter, a champion, and is corrupted. Current role is Warlord of the Broken Kin. Theme is vengeance, resentment, and fractured brotherhood. Known for losing his arm in the final clash with the Tarrasqueborn. Feeling betrayed by one of their brothers, Razgor, or Razgor and the rest, amassing legions of failed Tarrasqueborn and monstrous mutants. Azdrak seeks not balance nor control, only revenge. He believes the Tarrasque should never have died, and that Razgar stole the beast's legacy. His broken kin are infected with unchecked hunger. Interesting.
Very interesting.
It's also the first one that didn't have anything to do with the Tarrasqueborn's like direct death, right? Like all of them so far had a known for how they led to the death.
Yeah. So I'm curious if when they finally got to the final fight, they were like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe we should think about this a different way. Maybe we should, I don't know. Is that Big Dungeon?
What's up, Big Dungeon? Been a minute. How you doing? This is a unique module from Cart, actually. Cart has a whole brand new module with new creatures and a whole new lore base. So we're kind of taking a look at it and doing a showcase of it. And we're looking at the some of the main NPCs that started off this whole thing. But as a quick little recap, basically it's a module for anyone to either play as is or to adapt to their own. And it's based on a world after 5 legendary heroes brought down a Tarrasqueborn, or a Tarrasque. And after that, they all split into different factions. And we are seeing what the world is like after they brought it down. So yeah, we're kind of taking a look at that. And part of it is a whole new playable race/class called the Tarrasqueborn, which are derivatives of it. So yeah, hang out as long as you can. We appreciate it. Hopefully you might get some ideas. All right, so let's go to number 5. So now we have Razgor, the first Tarrasqueborn. They were a Valor Bard and Ancestral Warrior hybrid. Current role is a Wanderer, a Myth, and a Guide. Their theme is restraint, redemption, and burdened power. Known for singing the song that stilled the Tarrasque's mind long before the final blow, becoming the first mortal to drink of its blood and survive, refusing kingship, walking into exile, and founding the first Clutchhold. Razgor is both a hero and a warning. He embodies the internal war every Tarrasqueborn must fight. He protects his kin but believes they must never forget what they are. His right hand, Vesa, serves as both guardian and disciple. Ooh, and now we get to know what the right hands are. Each of the 5 commands, or once commanded, a champion, handpicked or crafted to embody their will. These right hands are legendary foes, mentors, or gatekeepers. Included later in chapter 6, the right hands are Solkaren, the merciful blade of Verodas, the masked echo, Kratos' paradox-born barbarian clone, Vixharn the flesh weaver,
Whoa.
Merthesa's polymorphine flesh image, or flesh mage, Borag the wretched, Asdark's corrupted warhulk, and Vesia the flowing hand, Razgor's peacekeeping half-giant monk.
That's wild. That's wild. First of all, I want to know a lot about this paradox clone because I want to do something like that.
Yeah, this is
so want to do something like that.
I'm also really liking that the lore is deep but not overly complicated, and it seems very well structured. I will say right now, out of all of the different types of things I've seen before, this seems approachable. I will say that already, as it seems structured enough to be approachable without being so overwhelming that I feel that I'm just going to get lost trying to memorize a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Like I have to add in a whole bunch of lore into my already created game. This feels like I can weave this in here. I think that's very cool.
Yeah, so far, again, I mean, we're only halfway through chapter 2. It's just setting up a great understanding for what we're going to get into. And by this point, again, I would say by chapter 2, if you're not interested, then this module isn't for you. But if you're already interested, you're probably going to end up playing it. So that's so far what I'm getting off of this.
Yep.
All right, so we get a post-hunt timeline. After the Tarrasque's fall, the first Clutchhold was formed by Razgar in secret. The Godforge Order rose in the east, burning down sites of Tarrasqueborn birth. Arl-Zakar became a hub for flesh alchemical experiments founded on Thornwell's work. Kratos fractured into isolation and paradox. The Flesh Forge bloom under Merthesa's guidance, and the Broken Kin War began when Asdrek attempted to restore the bones of the beast. Great to have a timeline. Weird place to put it because a lot of this hasn't been touched upon yet. But I would say on your next draft, working on maybe a visual timeline is always nice, right? So if you talk about all of these locations throughout the book, having a visual, just a line graph where you can pinpoint where these things happen with titles, and then you can even have the page number where they can go read upon each individual event would be really, really great for something like this. So good to have all of this stuff. Just a very weird place to have it because we've only just heard about a Clutchhold and don't know what it is.
Sure.
This, this totally makes sense, but I honestly would have used the person's name because we've been hearing their names before their title.
Sure.
We don't know where this place is. I'm assuming it's a location. So yeah, just little things like that were great information, just a little bit misplaced.
So I really like that idea of a timeline, and I even think it would be cool because sometimes people will have like visual footers at the bottom of each page. Like imagine if like as you're going through this like book or whatever, you're slowly moving across the timeline. And
that's such a good idea.
Like, where you're at in the timeline with this specific spot in the book, and then at the end you just have the full timeline.
That's such a good idea. That would be so visually cool. Oh, I love that.
Yep. Like if you had like one of those flip books, you could like do a flip book through it, and you can just watch the timeline move throughout the bottom.
That'd be hella cool. All right. Yeah. All right. To finish off chapter 2, why the 5 still matter. They shaped the world that the players now walk in. Their decisions birthed the bloodline, the conflicts, the serum, the flesh constructs, and more. They still walk the world. Some in secret, some in dominance, some on the edge of mortality. To encounter one of the 5 is to walk into the past and question who you are in the present. All right. This has turned out pretty good. So the next chapter 3, is the Tarrasqueborn race. So this is going to talk all about the actual aspects that became the Tarrasqueborn. So let me step away for just a few seconds, and then we will get to chapter 3.
Indeed. Yeah, this is gonna be cool. I looked through these, and like as I was making these, like I don't know if this is just, you know how in 5th edition you have like elves and then you have all of those like sub races of elves. Like I'm curious if each one of these that are in here, because there are more than one, but I'm curious if each one of these that are in here are going to be their own full race from top to bottom, or if they're going to have the same primary elements and then just maybe some features here and there are going to be adjusted a little bit. But yeah, no, this is very cool. This is very cool so far. I really am enjoying what we're seeing. Am I on the wrong tab? No, that's right. Although I need to just move this to the other one. Yeah, that's what I need.
Making stat blocks for all your NPCs is definitely some work that you put in.
Oof, yes. Is that what it was? Is that what all the stat blocks that I saw at the bottom were?
Yeah. But they do have the Paradox Barbarian clone if you want to go check it out in those 50 pages.
Oh, I absolutely will. But I mostly want to know the lore behind how the Barbarian clone was created. I want to know like what occurred, and if it has anything to do with the Chronergy wizard that was doing some weird timeline shenanigans.
Maybe? Oh yeah, it's in there.
I'm just saying.
Cart says it's in there, so you gotta go find it.
I bet.
All right, so let's move. Oh, and you are on the you're on the right track of ideas, by the way, for how it may have come about.
Absolutely.
We getting homework? Only if you want to. Only if you're interested.
I always got homework when it comes to homebrews.
All right, so let's find out what chapter 3, the Tarrasqueborn race entry, has. We are not the beast, but we carry its breath, its silence, its need. Introduction: blood made flesh. Tarrasqueborn are not a natural race. They were not created by gods nor shaped by evolution. They were forged by legacy. Born from the slain of the Tarrasque and the echo it left behind in blood, memory, and magic. They are often mistaken for half-dragons, mutants, or demons. But in truth, they are the echo of the Tarrasque's will, carried forward through generations, rituals, or planar reaction. Tarrasqueborn traits. Standard race block for D&D 5e. Ability score increases. Your strength score increases by 2. Choose either Constitution or Wisdom to increase by 1. Age. Tarrasqueborn mature quickly and can live up to 150 years. Their physical growth slows at adulthood, but their hunger does not. Okay, so they could be... Okay. They physically don't age as they get older as much. Okay, I kind of get that plateau effect. Alignment. Many Tarrasqueborn lean towards neutral or chaotic, torn between instinct and self-control. Their ideology, not morality, defines them. So I think that depends on which of the 5 you would come from, I feel.
For sure, yeah.
Tarrasqueborn are medium, but stand tall and thick-boned. Most range from 6 to 8 feet in height. Base walking speed is 30.
Okay, that's standard, valid.
Languages: you can speak, read, and write Common and Primordial, or Draconic. Some Elder Tarrasqueborn can carry fragments of the lost Tarrasque Echo Tongue, a series of growls, scents, and stomps. Kind of like how it has its own, somewhat like Thieves' Cant type of language.
Yeah. That's very interesting. But it's a racial language.
Exactly. Almost like kind of like bees.
Exactly.
All right, we have racial feats. Titan's Hide. Your skin is resistant and mineralized. While not wearing heavy armor, your AC equals 13 plus your constitution modifier.
That's not bad.
Now that says while not wearing heavy armor. So does that negate whatever other armor you're wearing?
I would say that what that indicates to me is that the other types of armor, your natural armor, which is what I would consider this, would still be effective enough to basically count as your armor class, even if you were wearing those other types of armor.
Gotcha.
So you could wear leather armor, but it would be basically like wearing regular clothes. So
Yeah.
you could do it for a deceptive factor. So somebody thinks that you're wearing leather armor, you're going to be easier to hit, this and that, blah, 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 whatever. But then when they actually go to hit you, oh, your armor class is way higher.
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Let's see. You also get monstrous might. You count as one size larger when determining your carrying capacity and the weight you can push, drag, or lift.
Oh, another good standard. Goliaths get that. I think Furbolgs get that too. But
I'm surprised that
feature.
I'm really surprised that grapple isn't on there. Like being counted as one size larger.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting.
But it's only for your might, so it's only for your strength, not necessarily someone's ability to, manhandle you. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, but I would say, like, usually things that, like, prevent you from grappling have to do with your size. So counting as one size larger would make it easier for you to grapple something. Like, your limitations would be less than theirs would be. So I can see it both ways, but for sure.
We also get Echoes of the Beast. You have proficiency in the intimidation skill. You also gain dark vision of 60 feet as your instincts sharpen in the absence of light.
Okay.
That sounds cool. It makes me want to have something where, like, you can have a feature where you get dark vision, but I would love it where it would have to be gained over time. Kind of like how this insinuates. That would be a very interesting mechanic where it's like you get 10 feet of dark vision for every minute that you're in darkness. Or something like that.
I was thinking more like you start off with like 10 feet of dark vision at like your early levels. Then as you level up, your
Oh, you're thinking about it getting stronger. I was just thinking about like you have only like 30 feet, but it takes you like 3 minutes to get it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Oh, I hate that that's cut off. I might have to read that for you.
Oh, that's all right. I can see it. All right, so the hunger, unique mechanic. The Tarrasqueborn carry an inner hunger, a primal force that can empower or consume them. You start each day with 0 hunger points. You gain 1 hunger point when you go an hour without eating after a long rest. You deal a critical hit in combat. You kill a creature and do not rest afterwards. You fail a wisdom saving throw against a fear, rage, or domination effect. Those are very unique situations.
So I don't know what failing a rage effect would be. And I'm also curious if the domination and or fear effect that you're underneath, if it's not wisdom based, like if you have to make a charisma saving throw or be frightened, does that not count here because it's charisma, not wisdom?
I think, yeah, I think the fear, rage, and domination effects, I think are going to be based on Beta Tarrasqueborn, because we've heard about one of the subtypes has like rage issues, and the other one's very dominating. So I have a feeling that these are going to be specific to effects based on Beta Tarrasqueborn.
Okay. And what about the going an hour without eating after a long rest?
This is where I'm confused. Is it like so once you take a long rest, for every hour that you don't eat, you're going to get 1. So it's like if you go 5 hours, you'll have 5. Like that's what yeah. These ones are going to be a little bit harder, I think, to control and maintain. Now, I mean, again, we're not here to like fix it, but my first instinct as a player is like, who's going to be responsible, me or the DM, and how are we going to control that? If it were something along the lines of something that's slightly more role play, because it's too easy to just say, well, we ate when we woke up, right? Like, unless you really track that kind of thing. But I could even see something along the lines of like needing fresh blood after a long rest, or like if you go more than a day without fresh blood, so that means you have to go hunt, you have to actually go find a way to drink, like right, so you something that you couldn't carry on you. But yeah, eating an hour after long rest, who's supposed to do that? When you deal a critical hit, interesting that, yeah, I get the idea that you deal a critical hit. I kind of like that. That one does make sense. And then not resting after killing a creature, though. Yeah, all of those make sense. I just who's tracking?
A couple questions I have. I would think the person tracking is going to be the DM, because the DM's kind of controlling the passage of time. So whenever an hour theoretically would pass, be like, hey, do you have any food that you can eat? Yes, no, blah, 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 whatever. My question is, what counts as eating food? Like, can I just have a cracker and like break that cracker up into quarters and then eat a quarter of a cracker every hour? That counts as eating every hour?
Or is it satiation eating? Like, do you actually have a full meal?
Yeah. Do I need like to consume an entire ration's worth of food every hour? Because and that could, I think that makes more mechanical sense. It's like, yeah, you need to ration up, because that's really the only purpose in doing something like this, is getting them to consume more resources on a regular basis or suffer X, Y, and Z consequences.
Yeah. And Cart's even saying that this was meant for more of like a role play based, where they're not fighting as much, so there's still something triggering the hunger, which again would basically mean more that you're not playing, again, more based for non-combat games, right? Which I guess I could definitely see that, where you're trying to make it a little bit more open. But yeah, my first question is like, who's supposed to be tracking that, and how are we, like Kage said, how are we negotiating that? Dungeon says it's best for like a flavor, but not necessarily a mechanic, just because again, tracking that kind of thing would be a little bit difficult. Yeah. But yeah, it's a cool concept. It would be nice to have a little bit more clear-cut specifics on how these things are counting up. And we don't know necessarily the next thing. These thresholds are going to be what happens to you. So yeah, I would just say that that's the only one is going to be difficult to track.
I'll say the to kill a creature afterwards, I would probably word that slightly differently, because a rules lawyer could argue, if you're in combat and I kill 5 creatures, I now have 5 points because I haven't rested yet, right? And I'm thinking it's meant like, if I don't rest after combat is over,
yeah, then you will sustain it.
I'll get a point, right? Because you can't really rest in the middle of combat. Oh, hey guys, I just got a kill in our combat. Let me take a nap real quick. Let me sit down for 5 minutes or something like that. Like, that's not really going to be how it's going to go down. So I would probably just word it a little bit more specifically, but I do like everything that's there and like the idea behind what we're trying to do. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could even just say like, like an hour, like within an hour of ending combat, you need to take a short rest. Just,
sure.
Some kind of like snippet to where, if in game there's no feasible way for them to do that, then they're going to take a point. But if there is a feasible way, they have to remember to do it. But threshold. So these are going to be what happens when you get hungry. So at 5 hunger points, you gain advantage on strength checks and saving throws.
Oh, snap.
At 7 hunger points, I didn't think you wanted hunger, but apparently you do want hunger. At 7+ hunger points, you must succeed on a DC 13 Wisdom saving throw, or at the start of combat. So you must succeed a DC 13 saving throw at the start of combat, or lose control for 1 round. DM controls your actions, targeting the closest creature. And then at 10 hunger points, you transform into a feral form. DM controlled unless previously mastered. See optional hunger rules for campaigns. Gotcha. Okay. That's interesting. I like that. I have very similar rules in High Point. I don't mind how that works.
You're lightweight a werewolf, which is kind of wild. And I think that's very interesting. I think that it's nice because you're out here saying the sweet spot is 500 points. If you go too far over that, then we're gonna have a problem here. Imagine you're sitting at 5 hunger points, you got advantage on your checks, and you crit twice in a row, and all of a sudden DM controls your character now. You're like, oh snap, that's crazy, right? And then while the DM's controlling it, he gets 3 more crits for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And now you transform into something crazy.
I dig it. There's only 3 ways to reduce your hunger too. You can meditate for an hour uninterrupted. You can participate in a sacred Tarrasqueborn ritual, or you can consume a full bloody meal in quiet reflection. But it only says this reduces hunger, but not by how much.
Yes, that was my question. Does that eliminate all of it, or is it just some of it?
That's a very good question, because that will really change how this mechanic would feel. Because if it's difficult to gain but super easy to get rid of all at once, that's going to be a very unique game to play, where you're trying to constantly worry about how you're gaining them, but you don't want to get rid of them all of that, super quick. Oh, Cart says in the new revamp they left that to the DM discretion. Okay, so basically it's up to the DM on how you work your hunger. I would say that for a module, especially if you're trying to get people interested, those are the more difficult things to leave up to DM discretion, because you already have such a profound understanding of the basic mechanics of how to get hunger. Then kind of leaving it up to the DM to figure out the rest. I would say at least give them something. Just, whether this is, meditate, you get 1 point for every hour of uninterrupted meditation. It's 5 points or 3 points for one ritual, and a whole meal consumes 2 points. That's kind of something that I would do, because at least that way it's a 1, 2, 3, and then the 1 can be extended upon. So yeah, I would do something like that, and then just have a note that says, these can be modified upon DM discretion for other reasons. But at least have some kind of suggested way of doing it, because a lot of DMs, this far into it, that could make a lot of DMs feel a little bit panicked, where they're like, oh, this is all great rules, but now I got to make sure it feels good. I'm not a rule creator, so that would be my thing.
And I think there's an element of balancing in a mechanic like this that a DM picking this up might not have enough context to consider. So doing some of that labor for them ahead of time could make it a lot more pick upable by somebody who just wants to check this out.
Yeah, so that would be my thing. Meditating is 1 point per hour of uninterrupted meditation. And that's just as much as they can meditate. So in game, they could get rid of all of their points in a day if they really wanted to do it meditating. Participating in the sacred Tarrasqueborn ritual sounds like 3 points, because it's a big deal. It's a very specific one. And then consuming the bloody meal, I think 2 points sounds good, because then you have a 1, 2, 3. And when you're consuming a meal, that's too easy to do, right? You can just go hunt something and easily get it. But 2 points is enough to, bring you from 10 to 8, which is just over that 7 part, but 7 to 5. So I feel like there's the 2 points sounds about right for the meal, 3 for the ritual, and then 1 per hour for meditation. Again, I know we're not supposed to be doing this, but that was the idea, is that I would say at least something, give me something on an idea of what I should be doing here, because it's great rules, but then to just suddenly say, you figure it out, it's a little bit intimidating.
I'll say I very much agree with you. I think the lowest should be just meditating. I think the second lowest should be consuming a meal. And I think the highest should be the ritual. And I'd even say something to the effect of hey, you can do this ritual during a short rest, but you cannot gain any of the benefits of a short rest if you do.
Ooh,
something like that.
That's cool. And Cart even said they gave some opportunities for the elf meditation, the elf sleeping. So, when you get you only have to take 4 hours to actually get a full rest.
Oh, okay.
So they'd be able to technically with this meditation rule, they'd be able to get 4 points back during a full rest.
Actually, that's very cool. That's very cool.
And that would take them from 10 to 6, which would put them in the advantage stage, but just teetering on potentially losing it again. So there's some balancing potential there. But again, we're not supposed to be doing that. We're supposed to be reading this. So let's move on.
Fair enough.
All right, and now we have sub-heritage, Paths of the Blood. Tarrasqueborn do not have sub-races, but they manifest traits tied to how the Tarrasque's echo lives within them. Choose one of the following. Blood of the Caw. Feels so punishing, though. What is the benefit to having hunger aside from the advantage? Well, and that's the idea. The hunger is not meant to be a good thing. Like, the hunger is meant to be something that you're battling as a player, that makes the game more difficult. So the first 4 hunger points do nothing. The 5th one gives you a slight edge, but then once you get to 7, you start losing control. 10, you lose even more control. And I guess that's kind of like it, right? It's kind of like being a werewolf. You have to fight the urge to change. And so you have these things that can not only bring your hunger down, but you have to manage the things that potentially bring your hunger up. So I think that's the idea, is just a side mechanic for the players to engage with their actual character a little bit more, than just, we're going to go fight combat. It's more of a, well, what are you doing on the in-between to manage this internal struggle? So I do agree. It feels punishing, but I personally kind of dig it. Like, I kind of think it's kind of a fun little mechanic. I'd like to see it in practice, though, because really, I don't know how fast the hunger would grow. So I'd really like to see how that mechanic plays out back and forth. You get that, but the point is to make things harder, kind of like Blood Hunters. So I don't think I'd play it, but that's just your play. So yeah, and that's totally understandable, right? This is a completely different approach to a game. So yes, I think the idea, and Carp, feel free to jump in there. I think the idea is to add a new, unique type of challenge to the gameplay. And if that's not your thing, I totally understand it. But
and it almost makes me feel like this whole setting is meant to be a party of nothing but Tarrasqueborn. And,
it sounds like it, yeah.
Maybe that was obvious, but like you 100% could just use this as additional like race options for a regular campaign. But I also think because this is so steeped in the lore of what's happening here, it would make a lot of sense if a lot of these Tarrasqueborn people ended up finding each other and trying to work towards some common end as a group when you move forward. So,
right.
This whole idea of, hey, there's 5 of us Tarrasqueborn and we're out here going to, I don't know, stop this paladin guy from killing all of our kin. Find a way to revive the original Tarrasque, to go get experimented on or stop the experiments that the wizard is doing. Who knows? Like it could be all kinds of like reasons, but I would imagine like that these struggles that these people are going through are a part of an element of the challenge of the game. So.
And I also want to because it's kind of been a minute, but I also want to step back to this page as well on how to use the module. As much as this is a full encompassed module with its new features, mechanics, and everything, it also is designed to be split up into any fraction of it. So it could just be a new race expansion, a new setting, a monster source book. It is a full campaign arc from 5th to 20th, or just a storytelling tool. So a good point as well is that while the hunger makes perfect sense for this setting and for how it would be designed to be played, it is also very easily droppable if you're just looking to have the features of these Tarrasqueborn as playable races.
Absolutely.
So I do like that Cart did put that up front, as this isn't required to be everything all at once. It is built to be cherry picked. So I do appreciate that in a module, because so many people try to build something that they're like, no, I want you to play my game as it was designed, so I'm going to force you into everything. Whereas this one's like, hey, take what you like out of it, leave everything else behind. And I dig that.
Very cool.
All right, so we have the subheritage. So Tarrasqueborn, so these are the sub races. So we have Blood of the Claw. This is a primal warrior. You manifest the beast's rage and reflex. You gain a +1 to dexterity, gain proficiency in athletics, and once per short rest, when reduced below half your HP, you may immediately make a weapon attack as a reaction. So almost like a counter attack once you go below 50%. Blood of the Plate.
I would love it if you got like a natural weapon, like a bite or something like that, and you had to do it with that. You had to do it with
Ooh.
like your bite attack or something like that. Just because it's like, oh, the primal nature is coming out, and again, a big part of you is you need to feed because you get all these hunger points. So I don't know. I think it's a cool option for that.
Oh man, having a bite attack and then being able to get rid of one hunger point if you bite and then actually like drink the blood of it during combat.
Yes.
That
So
would be fascinating.
The race lizard folk have a very similar mechanic. I don't think they actually have hunger points, but they have the ability to like regain hit points by consuming the flesh of their prey or whatever the heck it is. So I think that's very interesting idea, especially trying to drop hunger points. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Now next we have Blood of the Plate. This is the defensive juggernaut. Your skin is thick like stone and horned carapace. Gain 1 constitution point. Your Titan's Hide AC becomes 14 plus your constitution modifier instead of 13.
Ooh.
And once per long rest, you can reduce incoming damage from a single hit by your level. A minimum of 1. That's actually kind of cool. I like that. A single hit damage and decrease by your level. I dig it.
You know what? I think I do. I really think I do as well.
It's not a lot, but it's I kind of like that it's flat.
Yeah, I do. And it's like, okay, at 20th level, being able to drop 20 off of a hit, say somebody's hit me for 50 damage, I can take down almost half of that damage. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Especially if it's a crit.
I'm okay with that. Yeah. You can almost nullify a crit depending on how froggy you're getting, but
that's true. Let's see. Okay. Blood of the Mind. Ooh, Psionic Echo. Rare Tarrasqueborn whose mutation affects their mind and senses. They get a +1 to intelligence. You can cast the Detect Thoughts spell once per long rest, and you are resistant to psychic damage. That's gorgeous.
Simple, but very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even though these are all so different, I really feel like they do a decent job of being relatively balanced with each other. So it doesn't feel like one is like way more powerful than the other. So yeah, I'm super here for it.
Yeah, I really like the variety too. That it's really, there's so many different game styles that this plays into that depending on what you want to get out of this, you could easily pick something that is gonna go along with exactly what you want out of your character. So yeah, this is great. The last one, Blood of the Echo. This is the Mystic Seer. You dream of the Tarrasque, not as a monster, but as a god. Gain +1 wisdom. You can cast Augury once per long rest, no components required. You are proficient in insight and always know when someone lies to you. You feel a rumble from within. Take it easy. Okay. Thank you so much, Big Dungeon, for showing up. Do appreciate you. Hopefully we can see you again soon, but if not, yeah, we'll see you around whenever you guys show up.
Have a good one.
Good night.
So this is very interesting. I will say, Augury, I was about to look that spell up. I don't know how. Like, I feel like I've seen people mess with that, and it's really only as helpful as the player that's casting it and the DM in their response, even though it's a very limited response. But I'll say that always knowing when someone lies to you, I feel like that can get pretty crazy. Meaning, and yes, there has to be intention behind a lie, right? But that's basically you have a non-stop zone of truth on.
No, it doesn't. Because knowing someone's lying doesn't do anything. You can look someone in the eye and go, you're lying, and all they can do is go, and? Like, unless you're in a situation where you're forcing the truth, knowing that someone's lying is just whether or not to believe their words, but a zone of truth requires truth. Knowing someone's lying to you, you can't force them to tell you the truth. And
yes,
they can continue to lie to you. You can claim you are lying to me, and all they have to say is, no, I'm not. And you know that's a lie. But the end of the day, that's part of the aspect of, like, you know, the role play, right? Like, zone of truth would actually guarantee you get the answer, but knowing if you're being lied to is just knowing you got the wrong answer.
doesn't compel anybody to answer. So if you're under a zone of truth, the person can just avoid answering your question. But if the thing with always knowing if somebody is lying to you, like for a fact, I can get creative enough with my questions to where I ask questions that only have two options. And if that's the case, then I can.
Okay, but I mean, you as the player have to be able to do that. Like, that's not something that you would just be able to say my character gets the right information, right? You wouldn't be able to force it. You'd still have to use this technique to your advantage.
The same is true for somebody who's trying to min-max, right? They have to use their skills. They have to use the abilities that they've gotten in the way. Like if you're trying to like stun lock somebody into infinity with stunning strike or something as a monk or whatever, like you're trying to do whatever like broken combo you're trying to do. Like I would say that is something that I could see depending upon what type of table you're at. Like, put it this way, I don't think that this would be a problem with somebody sitting at a table with you. I think that this would be a very fun interaction, but I don't think it could be easily broken. But I think
Right.
with the way a lot of people DM and how binary they are and how a lot of people just use insight as a lie detector, basically. Insight check, is this person lying to me? Insight check, is this person lying? That's not exactly what insight is and is for.
Yeah.
But that is the way a lot of people use insight.
But again, just by knowing someone's lying, though, is, the idea is like the person and the DM could just, start saying like, well, they don't know the answer. They lied to you because they don't know. Like, I don't think it's as much of a gotcha situation. I do think that there are people that can abuse it, but I also think that if a DM is allowing you to play with this, they're probably going to be prepared for it, right? Like this is such a unique module. I don't think that this is such a danger to the DM who chose to run this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think that, well, put it this way, I would hope that a DM that is choosing to use this is aware enough of how this may or may not impact their game, that they would recognize that and be like, oh, I don't know how to handle that, or oh, that's fine, I can totally handle that.
Yeah.
But
Cart did say that there has been an update on how it works, though, so this might change your mind. It's actually a 50-50 chance. So it's not guaranteed. You don't always know, but you have a 50-50 chance of knowing.
Okay, I'm actually, so put it this way. If the way it works is like this, whenever somebody says something to me that can be considered either true or false, there is a 50-50 chance that I will get indicated that they are lying. Correct. If they are lying. And so it's basically like, hey, if this person is telling me the truth, I feel nothing. If my ability didn't go off, I feel nothing. But if my ability did go off and they are lying to me, I get a rumbly in my tumbly.
That's what I understand from what Cart said, is that it was meant to be less of a, every time someone talks to you, you just, again, are a lie detector test. It's more of a, you're just very, very keen, and whether or not you roll insight. Now, again, what I don't know is whether the new one is only when you roll insight, since you have proficiency, or if it's by default and passive. Because honestly, now I know what you were saying is like, I could just constantly say I'm rolling insight every time someone talks to me, but that's not really, again, like you said, that's not really how insight works. But I don't know whether or not it's meant to be every time someone talks to you, do you just get to flip the coin and say, do I get a rumble? Or is it more involved? But I do think that doing a 50-50, a chance for your ability to say, hey, something's off here, I do think that feels better. I'm not opposed to the always lying, but I think the 50-50 does make it a lot more approachable for, like you were saying, I think it just makes it easier to not be as exploited.
And it's something that, like, if me as a player, if I can rely on this skill, every time I get a queasy feeling in my stomach, I know you're lying to me. Again, just the way that works, I feel like that feels so much better than I know absolutely every time anyone around me lies.
Yeah. And I like this one too, because imagine you're just like, you're standing in the audience and someone's trying to give a speech, like before a war, and they're like, and we have every faith that we will win, and all of a sudden your stomach just goes rumble, and you're just like, oh, this is a suicide mission, ain't it? Like, that's how I think it works, right? It's not so much I'm gonna sit here and interrogate you, but moments like that when it's like you're in the room and someone makes a claim and you're just like, that motherfucker doesn't believe it. That's kind of how I feel it would be best used, instead of now I'm gonna ask this question and don't you lie to me kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Cart gave us a full breakdown. So when you have proficiency in insight, so you have proficiency in insight, but you only get the rumbling if you are being talked to directly or talking to. So if you're talking to a person directly, your part is the one that should insight, but you're not going to have the chip. Okay, actually, I don't. Maybe you need to reread that, because I actually don't understand what Cart's saying.
Is it this most recent message or all of them?
Yeah, I got to step away. Read that real quick, and then see if you could reread it to me, because I don't understand it.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, Cart. Here's how I understand it. It's not that necessarily I have to be the one that starts the conversation, but I do need to be the one talking. So if there's a conversation between 3 of my party members and one other person, let's say a town guard, we're all having a conversation. One of my party members is asking this guard a question, and the guard responds. I cannot then roll insight and know if that person is lying. But if I, as a part of that conversation, directly ask the guard a question and that guard responds to me, I can then roll an insight check and check to see if.
So it's not an AoE. It is a very specific one-to-one conversation. It's not an AoE. You can't just detect lies. It's a one-to-one.
Yes. Like if somebody's giving a speech, I don't get to know. If someone's talking to my friend and I'm just eavesdropping, I don't get to know. Even if I'm a part of that conversation, but they're not talking to me, I don't get to know. If I am talking to that person, if I'm directly interacting with you and I am saying, hello, individual, please give me this piece of information, and that person responds, turns and looks to me and says, yes, I will give you that information. Here it is. Then
Gotcha.
I can do the thing. Now, the question does become, do I have to either request or be told to roll insight on this person in order to flip the coin? Or do I get the coin flip regardless of whether I'm actively trying to insight?
That's the other thing is when. How does the coin flip trigger is interesting.
Yeah. It says yes, then you flip your coin. Okay. So yeah, I would say the insight is usually to determine what exactly they could be lying about. Okay, so the coin flip is before the actual insight check, and then the insight check gets me a little bit deeper information about what I understand them to potentially be lying about.
So that's the thing is, so who is it on? Is it on the player to, whenever they ask a question or whenever they're in a conversation with someone directly, is it just on the player to be like, do I get a rumbling in my tummy? Or is the DM supposed to be like, after he says this, you get a rumbling and then you're allowed to roll insight? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to figure out, like, how is this supposed to play out exactly?
The way that I look at it is, because for me, when it comes to insight, it's both and. Sometimes I don't know when my players want to try and insight somebody, right? But other times I know that my players would have a chance to notice something that's obvious, or not obvious, but that's occurring right now. So then I'll ask them if they want to roll insight. So sometimes they'll ask me, sometimes I'll ask them. I look at this very similar way. If a player is actively saying, hey, I would really like to know if this person is lying. And from my perspective as the DM, it's not relevant to what we're talking about. They're totally fine to ask, and we can do the thing at that point in time. But there'll be other times I'll be like, "Hey, heads or tails?" And we're in the middle of a conversation, and I'll be like, "Hey, heads or tails?" And they'll either give me heads or tails, and whether they succeed, I might tell them, "You are sure this person is telling the truth," or "You're sure this person is lying." Or if they fail it, it'll be like, "You have no idea whether they're doing either." Right? And sometimes I'll prompt them for something for when it is the truth, and sometimes I'll prompt them for when it's a lie. And I think that's important so that they don't think anytime I prompt them, this person is lying to me, and they just make that assumption across the board.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. I think that makes more sense then. Because especially, it's that layered effect, right? It's not just a passive thing every time you use insight. I like how they're kind of separate.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. All right. So let's look at, we're about to finish up chapter 3, role-playing a Tarrasqueborn. Tarrasqueborn are feared and misunderstood. Their power is undeniable, but it isolates them. You are a survivor of God's scream, walking proof of something the world tried to forget. Ask yourself, who raised you? Clutch, exile, or strangers? How do you control your hunger? Do you seek redemption, power, or understanding? I feel like this area could be expanded upon. Or just gotten rid of. I feel like this is one of those things that we were talking about before where there's just like a lot of buildup. I don't think this adds anything to the chapter. And it doesn't really tell me like these things are great, right? Like ask yourself, like these are great, but I feel like these are out of place and should be like upon character creation. Like, role-playing a Tarrasqueborn should be the beginning chapter of creating a Tarrasqueborn. First, you need to ask yourself, who, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
Having it right here is almost like a, okay, moving on. It just feels, not that it's bad. It's just, I don't know why it's here. I don't know why I just read that.
With the entirety of the module that we're looking at, I feel like this would have made a lot more sense to go earlier. But when it comes to the traditional presentation of a custom race, like if I were to create, like if this were to just be a race, like a lot of Dez's stuff that he sends us, if it's just a race, this is likely where this would go before you see the traits and the trinkets and the other pieces. You would see role-playing a Tarrasqueborn right about here, just after the features and traits and sub-races. And I might put it before sub-races, but you never know. Like, that's I think one of the only reasons why it's here. But again, because it's a part of this module, I think it would make a lot more sense there.
Yeah. Okay, so just took a look at the chapter titles. I think going through chapter 4 and 5 will be a great full submission or a full summary of most of the things that we're going to get. Because chapter 4 is the Living Flame, the roleplay guide to the Tarrasqueborn. So this is going to talk about actually what the players are going to get out of it. The next chapter after this is going to be Enemies of the Bloodline. So I feel like that's going to be a good setting, kind of, because right now we're talking about the Tarrasqueborn and how the players are going to play it. But I also like the idea of going against the enemies. So we're going to kind of see a little bit of the in-game experience. But the sixth one that we have access to is just the right hands. And we had a bit of a mention that these are just the main fives, like secondaries. I don't know if that's really going to be as much information, like as great as it is going to be lore. I think by chapter 5, knowing how the Tarrasqueborn are supposed to be role played and knowing some of the things you're going to interact with in game by looking at the enemies, I think that will give us more than enough. I don't know if the five hands are.
I just want to read the Masked Echo. I'm sure that'll be cool. That way we could, know how this clone showed up. But I totally feel that.
I mean, we can do that privately. Like, we can do that right afterwards. But I think just for the sake of the showcase and getting a good score, I think once we get through chapter 4 and 5, I think we're going to know more than enough to give this an idea of how interested we are. I mean, I think I already have my idea, but we'll give it 2 more chapters just in case.
Sure. Agreed.
All right, so starting with chapter 4, Living the Flame, a roleplay guide to the Tarrasqueborn. We are more than what we kill, we are what we hold back. The purpose of this chapter, Tarrasqueborn are not just a powerful race, they are a scared people full of contradictions, hunted honor, and monstrous and mythical. This chapter is designed to give players, dungeon masters, and world builders a deep, vivid understanding of what it means to live as a Tarrasqueborn. Inside, you'll find kinship structures, blood-bound and bonding rites, rites of passage, faiths and philosophies, cultural taboos, traditions of death and remembrance, story ritual role-playing prompts, and sayings. I'm actually kind of surprised that we're not going to get any of those rites and rituals, or I guess rites of passage maybe, but there was that rites and rituals that lets you get rid of your hunger if you do those rituals. So I'm curious if we'll get that in this as well.
Interesting. Yeah, fair enough.
All right, so let's look at clutch and kinship. We've seen clutch mentioned before. Tarrasqueborn organize themselves into tight familial groups known as clutches. Not defined by blood, but by the shared scars and trial-born bonds. Okay, so the clutch is going to be more like a clan. Less family, more a chosen group or a tribe. Those born from these same clutch... The clutch may consist of those born from the same clutch mother or trainer, survivors of a shared rite, Tarrasqueborn, or even outsiders who have earned their place through battle, healing, or sacrifice. So yeah, really like a clan, a tribe, an amalgamation of everybody that's, falls under the same ideologies.
So are you an additional race on top of being a Tarrasqueborn? Like, is Tarrasqueborn like a mutation, or is it something you're literally born with? Because the first Tarrasqueborn was the person who drank the blood or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? One of the first 5 that did something. He turned himself into, so he was a non-Tarrasqueborn. He was whatever he was originally, and then he became a Tarrasqueborn. So theoretically, if you had any like evolution or mutation, you would have that on top of whatever your original race is. Is that supposed to be the same idea here, or are they uniquely Tarrasqueborn?
That's a good question, actually. We haven't really understood that yet. Because in one respect, it could be looked at as all 5 are potential Tarrasqueborn beginners, but like in this one, Kratos does not hate the Tarrasqueborn. So technically, the Tarrasqueborn are, probably only the ones direct descendants of the Bard that ate of the flesh. So it's a mix of children who will occasionally be born as such and others who have mutated from when it all began. Okay, so Tarrasqueborn is either a direct descendant of or just a random mutation throughout the world due to the fall of the Tarrasque. Okay.
So mutations would likely be those that were something else and became this, kind of like the original Bard. Right?
Unless they're thinking of the mutation as a birth mutation. Like, again, like you were either a direct descendant or your blood just has a mutation that you were born a Tarrasqueborn. I'm not sure which one is
the XG for X-Men.
Yeah. So it's either, I don't know if that's the case, but it could be either of those. It could be that you're born a Tarrasqueborn, whether you have lineage or not, or like you said, you're mutated. Okay, it is a birth mutation. Okay, so you don't become one, you are always born one. But just because you're born one doesn't mean you are a direct descendant. So I guess the difference is like, being a descendant of Hercules versus just, being born with special magical power and, being born a witch, like a little bit different.
Got you.
All right. That makes not perfect sense, but that does make lore sense that after it fell, the world got so chaotic, these things can just pop up, even if you're not like, the ancestor.
Yeah.
Let's see. So we have naming the clutch. So say a clutch earns its name when it survives its first shared conflict or performs an act worthy of song. These names are sacred. So some examples are Stonejaw, Ashkin, the Thundertorn, or Echo of Talons. So good way to just kind of give them a reason, like if they want to, ascend into their own clutch, kind of gives them an idea of what they're going to have to accomplish. Sure. But that does give me the idea that this tells me as a player I can make my own clutch. Because if there's a way to make it, that means I can make one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Imagine your party, if this is what we think it is, and like every one of the party members are a part of are one of these Tarrasqueborn. like who's to say how big you need to have your clutch? Maybe you just have a clutch of 5 people.
That's
And
true.
you guys are like a traveling like mobile clutch that goes around and does bet money these people are going to do something that's song worthy.
That's true. It doesn't say how big the clutch has to be. It just says it has to be a group that has the shared experience.
Yeah, that's wild.
All right, so we have bonding rites and mating traditions. Tarrasqueborn do not practice traditional marriage. Instead, they form blood bonds, sacred pacts of shared survival. They have a blood bond ceremony. 2 individuals scar themselves across the palm and press their wounds together beside a fire. The scars seal as one, marking eternal kinship, romantic or platonic. I like that. That's kind of like, you could see, Brothers in Arms doing that as well.
Why do I feel like this is the textbook definition of trauma bonding?
Exactly. It pretty much is. Bond types, we have life bonds. This is romantic or raising as a clutch together. You have war bonds, which is shared responsibility in war or guarding a site. And then soul bonds, kin chosen through pain or loss. So soul bond seems more like how clutches are built. Life bonds are your partner, and then war bonds or partner, like life bond is partner of family. Soul bond is like how you begin the process of a new clutch, and then the war bond is more out of like necessity. Betrayal of a blood bond is among the deepest taboos, often punished by exile or trial by ordeal. I like that. That's a great way. That's something so good to have into the gameplay as an opportunity to either establish one or break one. I like that. All right, we have rites of ascension. There are 5 sacred rites that mark a Tarrasqueborn's journey from hatchling to elder, although we only have 4 listed. So we might be missing one. Rite of holding. Yeah. So rite of holding, the young Tarrasqueborn is exposed to pain, hunger, or grief. They must not give in to the hunger for a full day and night. Watched by clutch mothers or hollow roars. You have the rite of challenge. They must defeat a foe stronger than themselves without aid. Rite of the flame, journey alone into a sacred Tarrasqueborn site, such as bone fields or ley ruptures, and meditate for 3 days. And Rite of Ashes, guide another through battle, loss, or illness, and return with both souls intact. Oh, here it is, 5. Rite of Echoes. Publicly share the story of your greatest scar by firelight, without shame upon completion. The elder earns right to wear the sigil of their clutch, etched in bone. That's actually kind of cool. I like that there's these processes that you have to go through.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think this is such valuable lore to add to this, and it gives you so much to play with when it comes to like who you are, what you are, and like how you do things. Because like I wish I had information like this about all the races. Like, give me information like this about half-orcs. Give me information like this about elves. And I'm pretty sure it's out there somewhere. Like, you could probably tell
it's
me
really all in the modules and where you go. Like Greyhawk and Dark Sun, like all of them have their own. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I made it High Point, is because I wanted to flesh all of this out. So I agree with you. Like, yeah, exactly. I would love more of this, but at the same time, this is great for like a standalone, like a Tarrasqueborn, right? Super unique, fully created by yourself. This is what I want, but sometimes I don't want this for everything because I wouldn't want to follow it all and I wouldn't want to memorize it all. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
But no, this is phenomenal. I love shit like this.
Yeah, and I don't think you need it for everything, but for something like this, I feel like it holds a lot of value.
Yeah. Okay, so let's kind of go through some of these other ones. So we have cuisine and sacred meals. Food is life, but also a memory. Tarrasqueborn meals are primal, simple, and always shared. Most dishes involve smoked or seared meats, hearty roots, fermented blood marrow stews, or roasted bone marrow. Sacred feast. There's the Titan's meal, held once per year. A beast is hunted communally, its death is honored, and the meat is shared in silence. After the final bite, the clutch tells stories. Versus the Silent Watch Supper, prepared during morning, no spices, only fire, water, and ash cooked meats, meant to honor what cannot speak again. That's pretty deep. I like that.
Okay.
Faiths and philosophies. Tarrasqueborn do not follow a unified religion, but they revere primal forces and echo gods of survival. Common beliefs. The flame below, the hunger as a purifying trial, the chain within, restraint is the highest honor, the bone above, all things die, but how they are remembered matters more, and the sleeper, the Trask itself, still worshipped by some as a silent god waiting to awaken again. Many turn to... What's up?
I said I see barbarians, I see druids, I see, oddly enough, because the one dude really wants to kill them, I see paladins depicted in all of those things. And, you know, like, granted, you can be anything, but, like, there's a lot of, like, strong ties and strong avenues pulling you in those directions. So I think that's very cool.
And many of them turn to what are called hollow roars. They are robed shaman who do not speak except during rites, carrying bone-etched memories of old songs. We have death and remembrance rituals. The Tarrasqueborn do not bury their dead, or do not burn their dead. They bury their kin facing the east, towards the last horizon the Tarrasque saw. Instead of gravestones, jawbones or claw shards are placed atop the chest, symbolizing the trial the dead overcame. Some request a sky burial where their bodies are left atop sacred cliffs to feed the beasts and birds, to give the hunger back to the world.
Interesting.
This is like, I mean,
really
again,
like that last one.
This is that stuff that's really fun, but I mean, won't matter as much in the gameplay, but this is the kind of fun stuff that really makes a world fleshed out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. Common sayings and proverbs. These phrases are often heard in battle, in teaching, or before rites. Let your scar speak. We do not run, we wait, then we end it. The hunger is not your enemy, it is your teacher. Eat with your kin, bleed with your truth, sleep when the silence is loud enough. We are not monsters, we are the children of one. Those are great. Again, those are great as long as the DM can properly ingest them into the storyline and into the roleplay. Quick roleplay prompts. You carry the bone shard of a fallen kin. What memory does it hold? Okay, so these are like traits or things when you do a character. You still feel the moment you lost control once. Who did it hurt? You believe the Tarrasqueborn must never breed again. Why? You are the only one in your clutch who speaks to outsiders. Why do you? You once saw Razgard in a dream. What did he whisper? Those are great. I like that those are good examples. There's so much more you could do, but those are some great examples of how to kick off a good character creation.
Yep.
All right, and then we are on the last chapter for today. So this is chapter 5, and this is going to be enemies of the bloodline. So this is going to be now a little bit more of what to expect in terms of engagement and in terms of interactions. Not all monsters are born from hunger. Some are forged in righteousness. Some are broken in grief. Overview. The Tarrasqueborn are feared by many, not only for what they are, but for what they might become. Their bloodline carries echoes of primal forces that once leveled cities and swallowed empires. Some seek to eradicate them, fearing another awakening. Others seek to enslave them, seeing weapons to be shaped. A few seek to replace them, thinking they can do better. This chapter details the major factions and enemies that threaten the Tarrasqueborn directly or indirectly.
Crazy. Like.
All right, so our first, the God-Forged Order. This is High Lord Veratus. This is one of the first 5 that took down the Tarrasqueborn. The Iron Crucible, a mobile fortress monastery. That's their headquarters. That sounds dope.
That's crazy. I gotta have a mobile fortress now. That's so crazy.
Symbol is a burning sword crossed over a sealed eye. This is the kind of stuff I really appreciate when DMs do, is things like symbols and whatnot. Like, it's such a difficult task to do, but stuff like this is so good for lore building. Philosophy. The Tarrasqueborn are a sin, an echo of an ancient wound left unhealed. They are anomalies, incompatible with divine order. We do not hate them, we erase them. Their goal is to hunt and purge known clutch holds, destroy any remaining Tarrasque relics, convert or execute known Tarrasqueborn, and promote divine purity within bloodlines. Interesting that they'll promote a Tarrasqueborn. Like, they'll actually, like, take one on. I wonder what that means to them.
I'm curious what they mean by convert.
Yeah, maybe we'll find out in a different chapter. Tactics, specialized specialized holy enforcers with Tarrasque slain weaponry, inquisitors trained in hunger suppression, and rumors of a holy mutator experimenting with cleansing the bloodline.
So maybe keeping them alive and removing whatever causes them to be basically that thing that what was that thing that they had in the X-Men movie where they could shoot a mutant and they'd lose their powers?
Oh, right. Yeah. They're like the suppressor thing. This also makes me wonder, like, as a DM, I would almost say like the whole thing of like they say that they're there to convert or execute, but the conversion is just when they capture them. Like, it's not really like a conversion. It's just whenever they capture them alive, they just give them over to the experimentations to see if they can cure them. And it's basically just torture.
Yeah. Actually, I like that idea. All
right. We also have the Cult of the Quiet Core. The leader is the voice beneath, unknown identity. The layer is within a silenced sinkhole city beneath the world's crust. The symbol is a closed mouth formed from concentric circles. The philosophy: the Tarrasque should never have died. Its death unbalanced the earth. The Tarrasqueborn are walking heresy, and a world will never heal until they are silenced. So they also want to eradicate them all. Locate and destroy the Tarrasqueborn line. Awaken a second core beast hidden within the earth. A second core beast. So not a Tarrasqueborn, but a second beast similar to a Tarrasqueborn. Silence arcane communication and prophecy. And their tactics are assassins that steal sound, psionic priests that sap willpower, and rituals that erase entire bloodlines from historical memory.
That's crazy. A ritual that can erase bloodlines from historical memory. That statement gives me so many ideas.
Now I just want the forgotten clutch. Like, I literally want a clutch made from everybody who like got erased from historical memory, but that doesn't mean that they got erased, right? It's just historical memory. So I want a whole clutch of people who no one knows, and they're just like the unknown.
Yeah.
The ones that survived the erasing.
That's wild. But I feel like that very much fits with their vibe, you know? The quiet core, you're out here eliminating the sound, you're erasing people from memories, like, yeah, no, that very much suits.
I like this. We also have the Broken Kin. So this is Azdrac, the Jealous Claw, is the leader. Seat of Power, Warclaw, a roving siege city of flesh and bone. So that's 2 moving cities now. 2 mobile fortresses. Their symbol, nice. The symbol is a shattered clutch sigil, bleeding red. And the philosophy is the bloodline was never meant to be restrained. The hunger is power, and power should be fed, not hidden. Azdrac believes the Tarrasqueborn were betrayed by Razgor, and the true evolution lies in giving in. So the goal is to corrupt and absorb weaker Tarrasqueborn, destroy Razgar and his legacy, revive the Tarrasque via the Shade or through breeding experiments. Their tactics are twisted clutchborn mutants, berserker broods led by corrupted elders, and flesh champions, failed experiments given weapons and fury.
Ooh.
This is good.
Flesh? Okay.
The Fleshforged Cult. This is Merthiza the Hollowed. Domain, the Living Spire, a mountain of living tissue. Symbol, a stylized helix made of ribs and tendons. And the philosophy, perfection does not come from birth, it is carved. The Tarrasqueborn are templates, not people. Merthiza seeks to refine them, combine them, and build the next true god beast. The goals are to harvest Tarrasqueborn organs and traits, perfect the serum, and build controlled vessels capable of housing a reborn Titan mind.
I love how all of these things are like ultimately connecting together. Like we're connecting the serum, we're connecting, the paladin, we're like nothing's like forgotten. And
Yeah,
so
it's all
I
very, very well organized.
yeah.
They have 3 tactics: flesh-stitched constructs, mind-warped test subjects, and living weapons disguised as allies. That's fascinating.
Dang. We got what do they call them? Doppelgangers out here?
Right? That's kind of what I'm thinking.
That's crazy. That's
All right,
crazy.
We only got 3 more. So the Kingdom of Aral Zakar, Queen Zarza III, an aging alchemical monarch. Location: capital city on a living biomechanical platforms. Symbol is a hexagonal alchemical rune with 7 eyes. Philosophy: science should rule. The world is unstable because we failed to study the beast. Tarrasqueborn are data points and should be monitored, dissected, and preserved. Their goals: capture and tag all known Tarrasqueborn, convert the serum into a replaceable mutagen, and extract hunger into controllable soldiers. So basically use the hunger to like beef them up. And their tactics: mercenary parties of mutagen hardened hunters, biotechnological prisons that nullify instinct, and massive memory draining devices that strip identities.
Wild.
We have the Wild Hunts of the North. The origins: tribal Highlanders whose ancestors fled the first hunt's fallout. Symbol: a shattered hoofprint over a white flame. Philosophy: Tarrasqueborn are hunted for sport and balance. Their flesh is used to empower warriors and their blood to baptized newborns. A Tarrasqueborn hunt is considered a rite of passage. The goals are to track clutches in migration, hunt elder Tarrasqueborn for relics, and spread purification hunts to other nations. Their tactics include ice-cloaked berserkers with anti-monster tactics, callers who can mimic Tarrasqueborn roars to lure them, and bone weavers who trap the bloodline's dreams.
I'm very curious what that means.
Same. So, well, because remember, like, there were a mention of a dream earlier. So yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, where you have a dream of what the person said or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. That's crazy, dude. And the last piece here for chapter 5, narrative use in campaigns. Each enemy faction provides a philosophical counterweight to the Tarrasqueborn's experience, a narrative foil for PCs walking the path of restraint, corruption, or redemption. Hooks for espionage, war, diplomacy, and betrayal. That's all true. Potential quest lines involving infiltration, assassinations, or collapse from within. Some of these factions may align temporarily with party goals only to reveal deeper truths. Others may have splinters within, offering storylines of rebellion, revolution, or double agents. So that is the first 5 of 9 chapters. That is a little over 50%, about 55, 60% of the Tarrasqueborn module from cards. So overall, my first overall reaction to this is interest. Like above all else, I'm definitely interested. I think most people looking for a brand new setting or a module or something to follow, if they're looking for a new setting to take place in, with just some unique lore, I don't think this is what they are gonna flock to. This is well written, it is extremely detailed, and I think that this is perfect for people who want a very high-powered, high fantasy game, who want to take their current setting or campaign to another level, or who are just looking for something that's not the quintessential standard of D&D. But I don't think this is going to be your average person just saying, hey, I want to just run a new, interesting campaign for, my same 5 players who are going to run the standard classes. I think this is definitely anybody who wants to run a series one shot where, they're all making people and they have, a combined goal. They only want to do like 10 sessions. I think this is it for them. And anybody like us who are looking to create our own worlds, but expand upon them in very unique ways. Something like this is such a boon to not only creativity, but to expand whole areas of your world that you may not have fleshed out. So I think it's great, both as just a personal project, but also as something that is approachable. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it works for many of the editions too. Like, I know that this was built for 5th edition, but I could easily see this being used for prior editions as well. Like, just the role play heavy aspects and the lore has been very universal, I think, for anybody to want to pick up and actually tell a story through this.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I'm very excited to see, like, because I definitely plan on going and finishing to convert everything else that's left in here, and because we've already reviewed it, I can actually read through it and actually get some information on it. So I'm very curious to see like how in depth this goes and what types of things, because there's so much here, just so many like few random lines that just inspires so much in what's happening. I think that there is a significant amount that is easy for people to connect with, to start using, to develop their potentially their foundation for a world that they want to build similar to ours, right? Because a lot of the times the biggest problem with starting from scratch, right?
Yes.
It's like I really want to create something, but like how do I put it all together? What piece? This is a great way and a great idea, like a springboard for people to like move off of when it comes to developing something that feels personal and unique to them and that will work with what they're trying to do. So I absolutely freaking love it, man. I think it's way cool.
Yeah. I know that this is only your first draft. I know that you have a 2.0 in the works. But I will say, like, again, as a showcase, as if I were just coming through and someone were to tell me about this, or I was just, at a shop flipping through it, this would get me hooked. As a player, this would absolutely, be a module that I would love to play as a player. Yeah. I'd be very interested to dive into the various, mechanics and really understand like what it is that I'd be choosing. So, I think this is great. I think it has a lot of potential, but even knowing that you have fixed a few of the things, and that you're heading in that direction. I mean, originally I was going to get like a 3.5, but already knowing some of the changes that you've made, and are coming kind of around to, I would probably give this a 4 out of 5. Like, it is extremely enticing, and I'd like to see the final product, but I would be very interested if I had a DM who would run it. Like, I would play it. I don't know if I would run it as a DM myself, but it's because I'm not the kind of DM to take this much of someone else's creation and then run it. That's why I don't do modules and one shots and things of that sort. But such a great resource for anybody who's starting out in the sandbox type of game. This really does help people who don't understand how a sandbox or a open world type of setting would work. I think this is a great opener that leaves a lot of opportunities for the DM to be creative without feeling that they have to fill in any gaps, right? Like, if you're not comfortable, this will have everything, but it gives you enough to do your own. So yeah, I think it's great. I'm very enticed. I think anybody who is interested in something new should check this out when it's complete. I 100% would be behind supporting this. And as a quick note for Kage, there is in chapter 6, there is the masked echo. So it looks like the idea behind this one is that Kadros plucked a version of himself from a doomed timeline where the Tarrasque destroyed everything. So he turned this into a physical echo that is now a silent warrior who basically exists to eliminate threats. So you were kind of right. He did.
Interesting.
He used the chrono.
That's very similar to how Echo Knight fighters work. Their echo is a potential future type thing or potential version of themselves. So I'm curious if this echo works the same way or if it's a whole entity that can now exist and live on its own, kind of like all the different Spider-Mans from the different Spider universes.
So as far as I can tell, it is independent. It has 3 specific notes here. It acts in 2 different initiative phases. So that's kind of cool. It has a time split. It has a reversed impact, so it forces rerolls on crits, which is kind of cool.
That's very cool.
And Chrono Burst Leap jumps between timelines to appear adjacent to targets.
Interesting. To appear adjacent to, okay.
So yeah, that's I would like I said, there's enough here to make me constantly want to read more. Like I keep being like, I want to go look at that. I want to go look at this. So that's what I mean by this. This is definitely enticing. It needs cleaning up, and it definitely needs a little bit of you know, like, I mean, we haven't read all of it, but there's a few things that it needs. But I think this has the potential to be something that you could one day consider publishing.
Dude, absolutely. This is way cool. This is way cool.
So yeah, thank you. That was phenomenal. Hopefully the slightly shorter, you know, not the full 9 chapters. Hopefully that was good, but still a little over 2-hour review. But yeah, no, I think it's great. I think that for a showcase, this is amazing. I think anybody who's interested should go check this out, especially when it's done. If you want, feel free to post it in the Discord, in the home brewing section, so other people can go check it out if they don't want to check it out on the leaderboard. And I know that Kage will try to finish up as much of at least the lore side as possible, so people can read more into it.
Absolutely.
And
Oh,
that was awesome.
Now, how do you feel about this, Vortex? There are a bunch of stat blocks. Like, there are like 50 pages of stat blocks. Could we just use those stat blocks as individual submissions? Now, we understand that it's like for this world, but do you think the world that's been presented here is different enough from like standard 5e that these would not be able to fit into that?
I don't know. I haven't seen them yet, and honestly, I'd have to look into it more. But it's also, you know, to what extent? Like, are they standalone enough to be worthy enough to be like, hey, because again, the review is the process is more of like, are they standalone enough that I would want to grab them, but also are they standalone enough to where anyone could just grab that as a new thing to try out in their game, right? Whereas
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Yeah,
because if they are way too specific to this setting and way too ingrained where you couldn't just pluck it out, or they're all too similar, I don't see much of a value in doing a lot of them.
so
But if they're truly like individualized, we can talk about it. I mean, again, it really depends on if Cart wants to specifically submit every single one.
because like people have done other things. Like people have sent in entire like books of stuff that have just like a bunch of things. So, and I will separate them out individually, just like I did with a lot of Dez's stuff, a lot of Hecate's stuff. You know,
Yeah,
like.
but again, it depends. Like, just because there's 50 of them doesn't necessarily mean that they're all unique and individual and, you know, specifically like standalone. So yeah, I guess it would just depend. If they truly are standalone and could just be used as is, I don't see a problem if Cart wants that. But again, it just really depends on whether or not they need the rest of this stuff.
Right, and so from my understanding, really the only way to find out is to find out. So if you're comfortable with it, either I will go look through some of them ahead of time and give you my assessment of them, or we can just try one out, and if it goes well, we'll keep doing them, and if it doesn't, we won't.
I mean, yeah, I without seeing them, I can't answer that. Like, I would need more information to have anything more, because this seems to be very well thought out, but there's also a lot of things that tie into each other, right? There's like a lot of layers to this. So I really can't even begin to ponder whether or not we would be able to truly review it and give it a honest opinion without it being like, oh, but if you had this thing, then it would work fine, right? I don't want that to be every review.
Do you want me to do that or not do that? Is my question, I guess.
Do what? Like, if you want to look through them and if you want to make an assessment, like, you can, or you can send me a couple.
That's
like,
the question.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you want to look through them, you can. Like I said, I can't give you an answer right now. I can't say, yes, let's review them, because I have no basis to know whether that would be worth our time or worth your time to convert them. But yeah, so cool. So we got that one finally taken care of. I am curious though, Cart, let us know when you do get us a 2.0, if you do make any updates, and if there's any other chapters past number 5, or anything specific within the chapters that you want us to read in a future review, let us know. And we can parse that out for a specific Monday. So aside from that, are you available Friday, Kage? Are you gonna be here on Friday?
I will be here Friday.
Sweet. So I guess we're gonna finally do Goku then.
Let's hope.
If we don't, get distracted by anything else.
Everything else.
Fucking AMA all of a sudden. All right. Everything's good there. Oh, you know what? I forgot we didn't go live on TikTok today. I gotta remember to actually set that up.
Oh, yeah. That's fair.
I don't have it auto plugged in, so I actually have to like manually go through all of that. Yeah. Maybe we'll try to do that on Friday when we do. Do you think you're gonna be remote or in studio?
I'm totally down to do in studio for the foreseeable future. You know, I have no problems with that now that my transportation's less of an issue.
Yeah. Okay, cool. We'll play that by ear, because yeah, if we can do that on Friday, then we'll be able to knock out Goku. And then maybe next Friday we could take a break and do like gaming with chat or something.
All right, bet. I'm here for it.
Sweet. All right, cool guys. You hold on your channel points for Goku. What does that even mean? Hold on to your channel points. What are you gonna do?
Because he's gonna be spending them on some wild stuff, like he does every time we're trying to review, especially not review, create something.
Yeah, whenever we're trying to be busy and actually do important stuff, that's when they want to fuck with us.
Every time.
All right, cool. Well, that's it for me. I don't have any other updates. I think we'll knock out Goku on Friday. I think next week we're going to be back into the normal rotation for reviews.
Yes, indeedy.
And then we'll talk more offline about whether or not the Tarrasque, the variety of Tarrasque options will be worth trying to tackle, or if we can categorize them in some way. But yeah, we'll see if we can break that down into individualized reviews, if that works, because God knows we want more.
Absolutely.
And if we can get 50 pages worth, that'll set us up for like another year.
All
right, cool.
We've already got a good chunky amount, so
so that's the card's saying that they're not going to use channel points. They're going to hold back for Goku just so we can actually have a real real stream.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
I think that's in reference because last week when we tried to do it, it was Cart mainly doing all of the DM questions and the this or that. So I think they're just saying, hey, I'll let you do your job. All right, cool. Oh, well, I think that will be us, unless you have anything for them. I don't know if you had any final comments about it or any final questions. I know you had a bunch of questions in it, so while we have Cart here, do you have any final details that you wanted to hammer out?
It was very cool. I definitely love what we have. I love the ideas and the presence of what's going on. I was very curious how just a race was going to set up an entire setting, but I think what I ended up seeing here exceeded my expectations, and I think it worked so well that it was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Like, there was a singular historical event that reshaped the picture of how an element of this world functions, and now we are navigating what that looks like. And the primary result of that was this race being born, this race now existing, this race now being something that the rest of the world has to deal with its existence. So, you know, I'm super intrigued because the way that this all kind of unfolded gives me it opens my eyes to doing things a way that I hadn't thought of before, which is very much like what I appreciate the most about this, is because when I can expand my way of thinking and the way I approach things, like the possibilities expand exponentially rather than very linearly with like a specific way of doing things. Which is again what I think you and I struggle with so much when people are telling us to like go play another game or go do this. I'm like, I'm totally down to like look at another game and see what it does, but for the purposes of expanding my mind and increasing how I understand how things function, so that I can play with what I already have, not so I can start over and do something that somebody else is doing, right? And I think that is really where I enjoy what our community not only appreciates about what we do, but also brings to the table themselves. So, yeah.
And I think it starts off with such an amazing premise of something that everybody had, like in D&D, like everybody's like fantasized about what it would be like to do that campaign that takes down a Trask. So this is just a very natural progression of the story to look at what would happen if that did take place.
Yep.
It also makes it feel like this entire setting came from a campaign that was played. You know what I mean? Like the way that it's described, how it came together and how the different people like, you know, reacted after the death of the Trask. It's like, this just feels like a campaign did this, and then this is just the aftermath. And then someone said, hey, I heard that story. Let me, you know, fast forward 100 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've got so many things, but yeah, I can't wait to, number one, finish this one, but also see what other things Cart does like this, because I find there's somewhat of a trend when I kind of get an idea of how one of our community members likes to submit things. You know, Pokeniner gave us that one list, and you know, I kind of got a vibe on like, okay, these are the types of things, these are the types of ways that Pokeniner puts his stuff together. Same thing with Hecate, and same thing for Soul for the most part. But from my experience with Cart, I've seen a lot of it's so interesting, like variety. Like there's like a vibe, there's like a core, there's a heart, but like it's on all sides of the spectrum. So I got mad respect for that whole.
It's a little unfortunate. Like this is one of those showcases. Like I feel like someone like Cosmic could have really benefited from this review, and even just reading through this, because Cosmic has also such amazing ideas and an amazing story, but I think Cosmic struggles to put it together and put it down on paper. And so the understanding of how Cart's going through this and layering and putting it down, I think that could be such an inspiration for someone like Cosmic, who has also a very intricate and well-designed world, but sometimes struggles to compartmentalize it. This is something I think is also just a great way to teach people how to start building out your world and the lore and keeping it functionally organized for yourself.
Yeah, and Cart, I totally feel that, and that is one of the biggest reasons why I've had such a hard time actually nailing down the samurai class that I want to build, is because I'm working on like one aspect, one subclass, one piece of it, and then I think of, oh, this other piece over here. Oh, let me make sure I add that. Let me make sure I have a note for that. And then it ends up being exactly like how I clean my house, you know. Like I'll go clean this one spot, and then in order for me to finish cleaning this, I have to put this away. When I go put this away, I have to go reorganize this thing so it'll actually fit in there. And then when I do that, it's this chain reaction of things. And then when I'm done, I cleaned a lot, but nothing's actually finished.
Yeah.
Nothing's actually completed. So I totally get that idea, but you know, somehow you made it work, you put it together. And to be honest, with that mindset, I'm additionally incredibly impressed with I think it was Foxer during our stream on Saturday created an entire subclass or either creature or subclass or something like that and submitted it and we reviewed it on stream. Like that was crazy. That was crazy.
Yeah. Hecate, what up? We have a DM question to actually end us today with from Hecate, who was lurking the whole time apparently. Let's see. We have one question from the DM. What are some of the major things from these homebrew reviews that you've added or changed in your own world? You mean aside from my 10 out of 10s, like the things that I would or have ingested?
That just are now.
Yeah, I would say that for me, the biggest things that I take away from this is I've mentioned before with the high point, I have a lot of things that are either just pending finalization or I leave gaps in my lore specifically to fill it in when I have more details about, you know, either backtracking or, you know, who needed to be involved or waiting for players to make decisions. So I would say that for the most part, going through these reviews, because I try to put them from the position of high point, a lot of the times, even if the review doesn't get a high score, as in a compatibility, by talking through it, what it does is it helps me finalize the plans that I was having. So even if I read an idea I really like or one I don't like, when we're going through the review process and making suggestions, those suggestions are coming from either direct experience that I have in high point with my decisions I've made, or I'm actively seeking out an example and trying to work through it live while I'm talking, and sometimes giving my examples or giving my feedback to how I would do something is literally actively solidifying it somewhere in high point, right? So taking the Tarrasqueborn, right? I've thought about doing like a Tarrasqueborn type of race before, but I've never like solidified it. But this idea of the Armageddon Fallout, I have plenty of potentialities for my players to end up in a Fallout type situation where it's in the future of high point and something like this could have drastically changed it. So while I may not use the fall of a Tarrasque to do that, this is just helping me conceptualize how I will go about organizing those fallouts and thinking about, you know, the NPCs that I currently have in place and what they're about to do. Thinking about it like this, where, well, what happens when it's all said and done, right? I haven't gotten to that point yet, but I like the intrigue about how parties can fall apart and how they can become enemies. So yeah, for me, when I'm trying to explain my viewpoint of how I would go about doing things, a lot of the times that's me actively building out those ideas or pulling those active ideas from high point. And that just helps me solidify my consistency, making sure that high point works the same way regardless of what I'm talking about. It's kind of a long answer. So I'll leave it to Kage to answer his version.
So I agree with the majority of what Vortex says. A lot of most of my discussions in general is either articulation of something I've already worked out or me in the process of working it out as is. You know, one of the biggest things I appreciate of a lot of the interactions that I get to have with Vortex is having a sounding board, having someone to be the devil's advocate and say the opposing thing to what I'm thinking of. So I make sure that I consider all of those points before I move forward. And so when it comes to stuff like this, like if I ever had an idea to move something in a certain direction, to create a race like this, you know, there might be inspiration, there might be ideas, there might be precautions that the submitter put in that I never thought of in the first place. And so I can then there work out how valuable, or if there is a way similar or exactly to the way that they did it, that I would like to do it. And so there's so much that's there. There's so much that we can pull from to actually make a part of something that can become concrete. Because I think I've articulated to you guys before, like my world is very much like Minecraft. It renders as you approach it, right? It's not something that's just always there unless it's someplace you've been before, right? Anything that's behind you is solid. Anything that's in front of you is kind of in flux. And so as a result of that, like there's so much opportunity for me to do exactly what Vortex was talking about. And there are those moments where it's like, oh, I have a place for this. I have a need for this. And sometimes it's not a need. Sometimes it's just a desire. I really, really enjoy what is being articulated here. And I would love to get to interact with it. Like anytime I see a video game, I'm like, that looks cool. That looks attractive. That looks like something I would enjoy interacting with. That's what I see here. When I see some synergy when it comes to a class that's being created, when I see an opportunity for role play that just feels so good, and I would love to see it out in practice. Right? It's one of those things that just makes me very, very inspired to continue to find a place for it in my world, to find a way to interact with it. And it's what I want to do with all the other TTRPGs out there. Find out all the pieces that I like, that I enjoy, that I think work well, and smash it into the thing that I think is most ideal. You know what's really crazy? I don't know why this is the first time I'm thinking of it. Anytime someone says, oh, there's another game that does that, just go play that game, I'm gonna point him to Bruce Lee. And I'm gonna be like, Bruce Lee literally created his own martial arts based off of a bunch of other martial arts that did something similar but different. Yep. And he was one of the greatest martial artists alive. And so anybody who wants to talk trash about taking pieces from other places that and making it work for yourself, like, go talk to Bruce Lee. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So I think like the overarching thing there is like what we take away most is not what's been created, but how it was created in the thought process behind it.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
All right, we got one more from Cart. So let's see. What is this? Is a long one. Let me read this. Let's see. So, let's see. For me, making this module and everything for a playable race, what do you think would be the best way to implement it into a regular Forgotten Realms world where Wizards of the Coast have not acknowledged this as a playable race? Should this be on the same premise of maybe a burial zone of where corpse is, mutation embodiment happens, or just say, bam, there's a Tarrasqueborn, and I just don't fully know. So basically, where would you set this into Forgotten Realms? So it really depends on which version of Forgotten Realms that you're gonna be playing in, because the original idea of a Tarrasque was that there's only ever one in any particular location. So if you go far back enough in Forgotten Realms, that would technically mean there's only one per crystal sphere, and each crystal sphere only had a solar system and only a handful of planets. So basically, there would be whatever the main planet was. There would be a Tarrasque deep in that core of that Earth or that planet waiting to be awoken. So I would say that if you're going to make this like as true to Forgotten Realms, depending upon which setting that you normally have, whether you're Greyhawk or, Dark Sun or anything like that, you could just make it the basis there. If you have somewhat of your own setting that's based off Forgotten Realms like mine, you would just put it in the main planet that you have. If you have multiple planets, you could just say that every planet has one. But outside of that, as far as I'm concerned, there's no known specific location. It's not like you would put this in Waterdeep or specifically, put this in like the Floating Citadel or anything like that. This is just one of those. Tarrasques are tending to be in the most, the oldest known location. So I would say that if you're really trying to tie this into Forgotten Realms, I mean, the problem is you're going to go into the future of it anyway, but it just really has to be from the ground. So wherever the main story takes place, that's where it really has to have been centered on. Unless, of course, you can just want to explain it where you brought the Tarrasqueborn from where it was to a new location. So yeah, I would just say that in terms of like where to place it, it's very difficult because the Tarrasqueborn were never from a specific location. They were always the center of the main planet body. I don't know if that's the question you were asking, but I think that's the best answer I have.
I will say again, I'm not super familiar with Forgotten Realms lore. So if your question is more about how do I incorporate this into Forgotten Realms lore, I'm less equipped to help you. I'll say I think one of the biggest things is if you want it to be more accessible to every gameplay, you have to set it up so where the Trask might not be dead in case they haven't killed the Trask in their particular world. Like you could adjust the lore a little bit to where it was injured to the point where, you know, it's now in like a seemingly eternal hibernation, and the Tarrasqueborn are coming from the blood that came out from its grave injury or something like that. So maybe there's more of a possibility it could come back up. But I think the biggest thing would be because the biggest chunk of what we're talking about here, there is a lot of lore and like characters and story behind it, and I think everything that we've seen so far is easy enough to insert into any world. Like there's not a lot that you're talking about that is really unrealistic. There might be like a piece here and there, but that somebody might be like, oh well, that doesn't work with my world. But for the most part, it seems very, very adaptable. And so with that, as long as it's super clear what's good with the races, like anybody else creating a homebrew, I think that's clean, man. I think that's a really, really good way to present it. So I don't know. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I think that might be the least of your concern, unless you're really hell bent on being able to say, hey, if you play in this campaign, use this. If you play in the Forgotten Realms here, like unless you're really, really specific on like trying to nail that down, I think that's the least of your problems. I think you've covered everything else. Even leaving it as one of those, nobody knows why they went after the Tarrasque. Like even if you wanted to make it one of those, no one knows how they found it. Nobody knows. Only the original 5 know how they found it, and even that could be just lore that you make up as you go until you're because as they play, you may come up with reasons and you may come up with better ideas. So that could just be one of those ongoing mysteries that even you haven't solved yet because it's end game knowledge, right? And those are the kind of things, like that's how I do high point, right? That's what I mean by I leave gaps, not because I want to just do sex machina the answer and just say, oh, I'm going to choose the answer that's best at the time. It's more like I don't have enough information myself. Like I haven't deep dived into every second of every NPC's life that I've ever created. So I know that there are certain NPCs involved in a certain war, but I don't know every final last action they made in that war. I know if they needed to be important enough to be at certain stages and if they survived the war. But beyond that, like if someone survives the war, but then I need something to have happened, as long as they were alive at the time, I can then use them. But it also has to make sense, right? That's why high point's very complicated, because it's not just, oh, that sounds good, but the cascade needs to make, sense. If this person over here allies with this person, but I said that they've always been mortal enemies, well, that's going to be a problem unless I can figure out a reason why they would have looped up in the first place that also doesn't have a contradiction. So that's why I kind of like to leave openings, because trying to answer all the questions at first either shuts the door to other opportunities and other ways to make the story work, or it just shoehorns in things that you now feel you're obligated to do because, well, I already said that guy over there did this thing, so that means he has to be here, and I didn't plan him to be here. So I think that's the thing, is it's even better that you don't have those answers right now, and wait for them to make the most sense. What's next week's review? I think it's another Des item.
Let's see. We did a Foxer. We did a cart today.
It is Des. It's the ranch hand.
Yeah.
The ranch hand background.
Yes, indeed. Okay. Yes, indeed. And depending on how depending on how you're feeling, Vortex, we might be able to do 2 of them.
Yeah.
If you're still down for that, since we have so many.
Yeah, I think that would be fine.
Okay. Cool. Which reminds me, I need to put our anniversary link in the one we did on Saturday. I almost forgot about that. There we go. Boop. Okay. Cool. Yeah, well, that was awesome, dude. Thank you so much, Cart. I really appreciate that, man.
Thank you so much. This was amazing. All right, well, I guess that will be it before anyone tries to force us into another DM question. All right, y'all. But thank you so much again, Cart. Amazing. Awesome showcase. I think you have a lot of potential here. Please let us know how 2.0 goes. And again, I absolutely mean it. This has good potential to be something that you could consider publishing someday if that's your interest. If it's not, then don't think about it. Keep the hobby and keep it fun. But as serious as you're taking it, it's that level of quality that it would just take a little bit of filling in, and it would be, module ready. Hi, little buddy. You just come up and say hi. You're gonna say bye to everybody right as we're ending stream. Yeah.
Oh, bye, guys.
Yeah, everybody. I wanted to cuddle with Dad, and you guys gotta go away because it's cuddle time.
Attention. I mean, listen, he's like, yo, you better give me that attention, bro. You better hook it up.
You can tell he's just like, nope, I'm gonna sit here. You can just deal with it. My buddy.
I'm here.
All right. Well, that'll be us. That'll be us for today. We will be back on Friday, and we will be finally creating Goku, unless y'all, screw us with more DM questions. But we get to finally create Goku. So join us for Friday. I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. I hope you have a great weekend ahead of you, a great week ahead of you. But we'll be back on Friday with Goku. Until then, have a good rest of your night, and we'll see you later. Cheers.
Deuces, my friends.